do that. So yeah, we're gonna go. That'll be one thing we do quick at the end of class. We're gonna go back and update our card class to be an abstract class with a standard card or playing card class. So we'll have a playing card class as well as the card class. So
I was trying to make like I have like one branch trying to make the card class an abstract class.
that'll be cool.
I
So,
tried doing this myself.
yeah, because the main goal for that is for anybody who does decide to take on the more comfortable challenge of Uno, it would benefit to have the abstract card class versus the standard card class we have. You'd be able to bring in the generic or abstract card class and then reuse that to create your Uno card class, and not have to worry about the display card method getting in the way. So you can build your own display card method and add your own pieces into it. So there's that. So that we're going to do at the end of class. That'll be kind of the code we do this weekend, today. And then at the moment, I'm not confident of what the assignment is going to be for the weekend because of what happened on Monday. I'm a little off on things. So there'll mostly be a challenge to go ahead and build some of this if you want. This is one of those ones where I'm going to be more tempted to have you try to build this alongside class so that you have one where you're trying to build on your own, knowing what we're going to do. So that's going to be one of the side challenges, is kind of seeing what you can build on your own in your own version of this. So I wouldn't do the normal thing where I say, hey, create a branch and code from there. In this case, I would actually say create your own Blackjack project that you then do outside of class. So after we finish it, go back to your personal project and try to build as much as you can what you saw in class, but put your own little twist on it, if you know what I mean. And again, that project, we're going to try to make sure it's ahead of our classes. So you're attempting to build what you can with what you know and seeing how much can you do? What can you come up with? What is your kind of mind create? And then after classes, you can update it and then shift it. If you need to, if like what you built is going to make it harder to build the project, you can always adjust it later on and fix it up. So that's going to be my recommendation. Whether or not that's going to be a requirement, I haven't decided yet. So I'm going to be based on whether or not I have assignments for you guys throughout the class. But the main thing is we want to make sure we just get through this so we can learn the concepts or reinforce some of those items we're learning about. The abstract classes, the interfaces, the control, the program flow, the console system, user interface, all these pieces. We'll make sure that they are familiar to us, they make sense. So when you guys get to build your own card game, you feel more confident this time than with the previous game. And again, this game is going to be a bit more in depth than the first one that you built. So it's going to be similar, but I feel like it can be a little bit more in depth. So everyone's aware, so you can start thinking about it, especially once, again, this will be easier once we get to the AI player or the dealer in our game. It'll be a little easier for your game, but my challenge for everyone in this one is actually add a single automatic player in your game that you create. That could be as simple as they just randomly pick a card from their hand. Again, for Uno or for Crazy Eights, that becomes a harder challenge because you have to then decide the character has to be able to pick randomly from a collection of cards that are allowable, if you know what I mean, right? So you'd first have to scan the player's hand to know what cards are playable, which honestly you might need to do anyway for the main game to make sure that your player doesn't accidentally try to play cards that they're not allowed to play. So that system might already be in place. That's it. Again, it can just simply be, you don't have to create a AI character that actually has some sort of strategy in your games you make, whether it's, when I actually was thinking of right, that was the thing. I did look at Baccarat. You're right, it is easy. The player does nothing. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's not complicated at all. You just put money on either the player, the banker, or a tie, and then you wait.
Yes.
And everything else is all automated. It is the laziest casino game other than slots I've ever seen. Not to pick on it, but well, the thing the thing that's beneficial about it is that you don't have to worry about thinking too much about it.
Oh, no, not at all. Let's just pick a
So it's
side.
perfect for movies, honestly, if you think about it, because the actor doesn't actually have to really look like they're playing much. They can just put money down and they're good.
Yeah.
They don't have to pretend to have any sort of strategy or anything like that. So I was like, yep, I guess don't think we're
It's
making
like flipping a coin.
Yeah, but I was thinking I might add the game Rummy. So as one of the options for you guys to be able to do.
Good.
So Rummy might be one of the ones I'm going to add. So you can work on Rummy, which has runs and straights and things like that. So you could play with that one. That one could be an interesting one. So yeah, the card games that I've decided to settle on is going to be Texas Hold'em, Crazy Eights, the harder version of Uno or Rummy. I'm actually removing Go Fish. That one I think is too easy
Jack.
for you guys. So I think
know
that's maybe I'll keep it back. But no, I think that one might be too easy. I think these ones might be more fun. These 4 games I think will be better.
I like the sound of Texas Hold'em, but it sound, I don't know.
I think the cool thing is you might be able to benefit a bit from this. What does? Nice, Manny. What I think is nice about Texas Hold'em is that we're already going to be creating a card game that has a 2-card hand. We have Blackjack, which starts as a 2-card hand. So that whole dealing process, you could actually even save that for your or reuse some of that code for Texas Hold'em. The main thing there is working on the center game or the table instead, and you have the table hand, or even then you could probably call that the dealer hand. Even though it's on the table doesn't mean it has to be the table object or anything like that. And just dealing with that process and dealing with the waging system, you have a bit more complex waging and scoring. That's going to be the big thing in Texas Hold'em. It's not really the gameplay at all. Like most of the mechanics of Texas Hold'em is identical to Blackjack's kind of mentality, except for raising and calling. But really the big thing there is going to be figuring out who won. So identifying the hand, the optimal hand that the player has, and then deciding who wins. That's the biggest challenge in Texas Hold'em. So that's why I'm putting Texas Hold'em on par with Uno, actually. So for me, it's the Crazy Eights and Rummy that might be the easier games.
It isn't, but don't you have to worry about Texas Hold'em? Like if someone has a straight flush versus someone had a full house versus someone had a pair.
I would love it if you actually, one of your players actually got that stuff, but yes, that's the thing. You have to figure out, that's the thing. You'd have to figure out what is the best item, best hand the player has. And so from my understanding, one of the optimal ways to do that is to just test to see if they have the highest possible, the best possible hand down. So you check, hey, do they have the royal flush? No, go down, go down, go down. Or you could also go the other way too. Keep checking for everything they could potentially have. But there's a bunch of options. There's a bunch of ways that I would let you guys decide how you would want to evaluate a hand to see what they have. And a better system for that logic might be to just give a player the hand and just play, maybe make normal poker first. I don't know if Texas Hold'em might be more complicated in that case. That's something you would have to think about. But again, that's why I'm putting Texas Hold'em and Uno in a similar class, where Crazy Eights and I feel like Rummy are going to be in a similar class. Because there's no evaluating the hands. You just have to decide if a certain action is valid or not. So I think that Crazy Eights and Rummy are the 2 simpler games, where Texas Hold'em and Uno are going to be the bit more complicated games, because again, Uno has the extra fancy cards and rules, and Texas Hold'em has the scoring system. Whereas Crazy Eights has no fancy cards. It's just Uno with no side effects, and except for changing the suit. And Rummy has just the ability to, you're just drawing and playing cards until all cards are ID'd or marked as scoring cards, as played cards. Because even when you play them, they're still in your hand. But main thing that we'll be able to do with that is, as you guys pick the game you want to build, I will put you into probably teams for that, so you can again discuss. So there'll be a potential of up to 4 teams. And again, the teams, you're just collaborating in a way of like doing stand-up meetings, figuring out where people are, what's the next goal, what are you working on? I need the help with this. This isn't working. And then from there, on the first class day, though, I'll be in, especially the first couple days, I'll make sure I meet with each team to discuss your projects and discuss plans of attack. So we know what we're building, we understand those. And again, the very first day, those teams will have a chance to play the game they chose. I'll also let any students know that if your team has only 1 or 2 people in it, you can of course change to a different game if you want a bigger team. So I will let everyone know. Everyone will know what everyone's building. So that if you want to do a team with more people, you can always switch your project before you start. So everyone will know what's going on. Everyone will know what everyone's building. Sounds good?
Good.
All right, I'm gonna get the Wheel of Doom. You get that out so you can figure out who's going to present their plan of attack first.
Should I just go?
Do you want to?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say
No.
I'll let you go first, but
Oh,
I don't feel like you actually want to.
no.
You just want to avoid the wheel.
You're gonna get it on the first go anyways.
I know, that's what I'm
Spoke now,
saying.
yep, you spoke. That's all it
It
takes.
just happens every time. Speak, no speak.
There it is. There it is. Wheel of names. Names to this thing.
But before you add my name, I don't have a plan of attack yet. I had a bit of a couple rough days. I haven't had a chance.
All
I
right.
also don't have one.
Who's that? I didn't
Freddie
catch that
also
one.
doesn't
Oh,
have one.
Freddie doesn't. Okay. Good to
I
know.
don't have one.
All right. That
Keith
looks like
has a
we
lame
make
one.
your Project a little harder. But we got Travis, Keith, Mandy's not feeling good, so I'll cut him out. Mandy, if you have a document you want to share, feel free to do that.
I don't have one either.
I have the notes that I showed you, Cliff, like from before, but I don't have like a plan of attack yet.
Gotcha. All right, that's good to know. Richie, do you think you might have it done shortly, or are you like just starting right now? Do we want to do the 30 minutes where you guys have 30 minutes to try kind of just like sketching a bit? 'Cause I did mention, actually, now that I think about it, on Tuesday, I did mention I was gonna give you guys like 30, 40 minutes to try in case for like work or something. No, let's do that. That's 3 people at least that have told me they don't have a plan of
So-
attack. And now 4 now.
It's just basically
Just planning out
an Excel
the- yeah.
spreadsheet, right? With
Yeah.
what we're gonna do for classes.
At
and
least that, yeah. Again, whatever your
Or-
way of
and-
doing it is, the main thing is just you're
Yeah.
trying to identify the classes, the actions, and the data that is being there, and trying to organize it to get yourself a starting point. So you have an idea of where to start. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and do that quick. The rooms. That I didn't need to do that. Let's do. Let's choose. There we go. We'll do 30, 45 minutes, give or take.
Are we doing
Once
the
you're-
thing for the algorithm?
For
Yeah,
blackjack.
No, yeah, but you said
Oh.
for us to look for an algorithm.
That's a different assignment. That's not good. That's not new due to like next week, the earliest. So. like
Oh
next
yeah,
Tuesday or next
damn it! I already have it.
Oh, cool. I'll
It's got a
keep that in
whole book
mind.
report on it.
Nah, it's good. Those are things. Those
That
are
is
things you
good.
want. Yeah, I forgot to put it in the actual classroom. I forgot I said I was going to do that. So, yeah, no, that was going to be like next week sometime. I was going to do it. So you guys had like a good week to look into it while being able to focus on this stuff. The plan of attack was the more important item, but that's fine. So yeah, 30, 45 minutes. We'll do that. Once you feel like you have a plan of attack, feel free to let me know in the Slack. So that way I can, if I need to cut, once I have everyone saying my plan of attack is good to go, I can cut this early if we need to. But max 45 minutes. Sound good? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, the two systems I showed you guys, one was the document that walks through the flow, so you can see the step-by-step process that the game goes through, how the game start, what's the flow of the game, and then I break it down into the spreadsheet. But again, this is the point, since you're not actually building this project, this is where you get to be a little more creative. If you have a different method you want to try out, twist the technique a bit, and try your own way to come up with your plan of attack of your classes, actions, and fields, which again, the actions are the methods, and the data, which are the fields. Try it out. Feel free to mess around a bit with your plan of attack process. What you think is going to be a good plan of attack. So honestly, Freddie, if what you have is valid for you to start coding, we can show that as way you process, that people can see if that's going to benefit them, if that's a better process for others. So sound good? All right.
Sure.
Head over into your rooms. We convene at 6:45, the latest. I'm gonna pause the recording. I paused it, so maybe restart it. Yeah, this is not as needed to record, but it can be useful in case anyone wants to refresh their mind on some of these plans. So,
I
all
don't
right,
have to say it again, right?
what's that?
I don't have to say it again, right?
No, you're good.
All right, cool.
Yeah, you're pretty good. Fine. These definitely have a good plan of attack. It's a good start process. And again, these can be either built out or streamlined more as you go through the program and realize, oh, I need this, I need that. I do feel like you're missing like a collection of either players or a collection of the hands, and you don't even have a hand either. There's no hand class. Oh, there's the list of players. Okay, cool. Yeah,
I
you're
know.
doing a
I have
hand
a,
class.
like I wasn't too. I
Yeah,
wasn't.
you have a list of cards in the player. The only
Yeah.
downside of that is a player limited to a single hand in the game.
Yeah, that's what like I heard. I'm just like that doesn't make sense for the split
Yeah.
to have like a hand class.
yeah.
Okay, so but I didn't want to change too much.
No worries. No, yeah, don't do that. We're
Like,
good. At least you're aware of it. That's what's key. Yep. And again, that's part of the reason why we do this. You can see other people's approach. Like, oh yeah, no, that makes more sense to me. So it's one of the best things and why a lot of companies, again, They do stand-up meetings. They discuss the plan of attacks. Like you'll have somebody who comes up with it, but then they'll share that what their plan is for a certain feature. You're not expected to come up with the implementation of feature and design it before confirming with the team. When a new feature is brought into the system, there's definitely a planning phase for it to make sure that what's created sounds good and it's a good implementation. So, all right, you're good. Back to the wheel. Sense of the casino, taking bets. Who's next now?
I should implement the death
No
card in
batter,
my,
no batter, no batter, no batter, no batter, no batter.
That was close, Keith. Ready, and you're up.
All right. So I never did this actually, so I found
Yeah, but you and Manny, this is the first time you're doing this plan, so it's gonna be interesting. See what you guys
yeah.
come up with.
So I did when I was studying online. I found a request
template.
for a feature template. So there you go. Just states a little bit the background, the objective, and the technical design of it. And over here, I specify a little bit what I think is gonna need. The variables, methods, and this is each class. This is pretty much what you already did.
Yep, I can see those. Yep.
So I think we're gonna need a dealer also.
All right. So they're gonna store the bets. The dealer will keep track of the bets. Interesting.
Yeah,
All
just
right.
keep track of the bets. Player will store its own cards, the amount of money that they have for betting, the name of the player, of course,
Yeah, makes sense.
and the methods for make this happen. The game is gonna have a score, turn, and a red list for storing the players.
What's the score? If you can clarify that a bit. I'm just curious.
I was thinking like a score, like because we play in rounds, maybe like how many times someone won.
Okay, cool.
It's like a general score. Like
All
with the game that we played had a score leaderboard at the end, I think.
Cool. Oh yeah, it did. Well, it was based on how much money you had at the end. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So something like that.
Okay, cool.
And then method to start the game that
Oh,
updates
that was
turn,
a start game. Like,
score.
what's a star game? But I got it.
Start. There you go. So start.
I was gonna say anything like it's not important.
Updates the start, the score, checks if the games is still on. Maybe it's someone's already run out of cash or something like that, or everybody run out of cash.
Yep.
Checks how many asks is it for starting of the game. How many players want to play, the name of the players, how much money do you want, and then it initiates the round. The round uses the dealer to give the cards to players. This is, I'm not sure how this is. Maybe it's not even the dealer, it's just actually call the deck itself and gives the cards. So everybody.
Like I said, yeah, the digital world, we don't actually need a physical hand to actually deal cards.
So
the cards just fly out.
So ask what you want to do, just like the game that we did. And then start cycling the players, which what everyone wants to do. Or once it was over, call itself again. Updates if the game is still on, and checks for win. And that's a method for winning. That's it.
Good. All right, no, definitely a very more like organized, kind of laying it out there. So there's a couple things that might change as we go through the items ourselves, kind of see like hand class. Like I said, the big thing that we want to remember in the game is that, like, if you weren't the biggest like reason why this game is going to get, or the organization of these classes is going to get flipped on its head, is mostly because of the split system. If we were not implementing the split system, the standard kind of setup that's in a lot of your minds is perfectly valid and going to be applicable. The splitting of hands is what really kind of throws this a bit on its head and has to kind of modify some of the original layouts. But again, we'll talk about that in a bit when we get to my version, when we get into my plan of attack. So I can.
Can we do blackjack without split?
What's that?
Can we do a blackjack without split?
Well, again, since you guys aren't creating it, it's not a big deal. I'm gonna walk you guys through it in the end. This is just again to see like what can you come up with, what do you think of, what pops into your head versus what again I'm gonna come up with and what I'm gonna think. Because my goal again is to try to get you guys ready when you do your own projects, your own card games that you're gonna think think through this enough to get the pieces set up right. But again, even there in that, we're probably gonna do a review of all your plan of attacks for your games that you're gonna build too. So you'll make your plan of attacks for the card game you build, you're gonna create. You'll go into a class with all your classmates. You'll do a stand-up meeting showing your plan of attacks. I'll be there to see them to make sure we kind of give some feedback on the plan of attacks, make sure we're not missing anything, to make sure that they sound like a good starting point for you guys.
Wait a minute. Did I hear you right? We're not doing this project?
You're doing it with me.
Oh,
So we're
okay.
not doing blackjack like our own. Oh.
You can, but that's not the assignment.
Oh,
I'm going to code. Blackjack is a code along, kind of like what we do with Yahtzee.
yeah.
So I'm going to challenge you guys to try to build some, like the next thing we're going to build in class, you're going to try to build the day before to practice. That's going to be a challenge for you guys that I'm going to recommend you do. It won't be required. I'm not going to grade it. But after Blackjack with me, then you're going to make your own card game on your own. That's the goal. So.
Kind of
This
cool
one
that
goes
you
over.
asked us to do like a deck, well, the card
Yeah.
and deck on our own. I mean,
Yep.
We're going to use we're going to take what we're with this blackjack, and we're going to be using the abstract classes and stuff and building off that with the deck and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, it's gonna be very similar to Yahtzee, but with a slight extra challenge of I'm gonna ask you to build some of the things on your own to try it, see what you build, but then I'm gonna walk you through my version of it, or the like a designed version of it that is focusing very heavily on strong boop. My headphone just fell out. Hold on, can't hear anybody right now. Give me 2 seconds for it to boot back up. Da, 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 da. Testing, and I'm back. Not cool. I heard someone type on the keyboard. All right, but anyway, oh, you can do the spreadsheet. Nice. Okay, cool. Overall, yeah.
I did this, but while everybody was showing them,
Oh.
I didn't know. This is exactly what it has here, but in spreadsheet form.
Yep, that sounds good. No, like I said, for you and Manny, it's going to be very interesting to see what you guys come up with, what you guys built, since you weren't there for the original one during Yahtzee. We did this once for Yahtzee as well, and for your and for their dice games, Liar's Dice. So the rest of the class did that for Yahtzee and Liar's Dice. We walked through that. So it was good. I was very curious to see what you two came up with, since you weren't part of that. So, but very cool. Good stuff. Good finding of a technical outline. That's actually a really interesting idea. Yep, this looks good. You're good to go.
Right.
Back to the wheel. There we go. Know what's happening this time.
Oh. Wheel of
I felt
Doom
that
hits
coming.
again.
All right. You don't seem as happy for this one, Keith. Usually applauding every time.
Except when it hits mine.
All right, all you. Go for it.
This is what I came up with.
Cool.
Deck interface, which, I mean, these are the ones that you already created.
Yeah.
But I was unsure of so this class here, I don't know if we should do like a user interface or table or call it something else. I don't know what to call it.
The table could be interesting. Stores all the it could store the hands with all the players. And I guess it could be in charge of like giving cards to certain hands. It could be. I do like the display cards method there to display the whole table so you can see everybody, because that's normal in the game. Yeah.
But I
that's
have a
nice.
question, so I noticed gyms had the cards face down.
Yeah.
In blackjack, does the dealer deal itself 2 cards and then one's face down, one's face up?
Yes, and actually at the casino, most of the time what the dealer does, and this is a way to kind of reduce card counting, is that it deals all cards 1 up, 1 down, and then on your turn, it flips your down card, and then you play, and then the next person goes, and their down card is flipped over. And so every single player, until it's their turn, has 1 card face down. And this is to help fight card counting. Because if they do what was done in our game, and all the cards for all the players are shown, and only the 1 card for the dealer's up, a card counter can have a pretty good count of the deck.
Okay.
So, because then they can see everyone else's hand, and then that means they want a full table, because then they can get the most information right away to really play with the odds and know what the odds are that they're going to get either a 10 or a non-10. So, but yeah, and so in most casinos, yeah, when you have the full table, everyone gets drawn, everyone gets dealt one down, one up, and then on your turn, your face down is played face up, so you play with an open hand. Your turn is played with an open hand. The next person, they get one flipped over, they play with an open hand all the way down, then the dealer flips their second card over and then does their actions. That's a standard behavior of the game. So I was a little upset when they decided to show everyone's hands in that online game, but it was fine enough because it didn't really matter. The fact that they still hid one of the dealer cards made it more accurate still, at least.
But they didn't
And-
actually have it on the table. That's why,
No.
right?
In the beginning, in the beginning, that's like an extra piece that we may not worry about in the beginning when we're playing our games. We want to make sure that the logic's fitting right, that our dealer's logic's behaving correctly. And so in the beginning, it's perfectly fine to show both hands. And then later on, we can add in that feature that hides one of the cards in the beginning.
And then shows it after your cards
And
are
yeah.
shown, or is
It
it?
shows
Is
it
it at
on
the
their
same
turn.
time? I forget. Oh no.
It displays your hidden card on your turn. It flips your hidden cards over on your turn.
On your turn, and then
Yeah.
at the very end. But if you're just playing you against the dealer, once you flip yours, then the dealer's flips, right?
Nope. No, because you still don't want to see that second card until your turn is over. Because again, the casino wants you to bust. That's a guarantee win for them. If you
Yeah, what
bust,
I'm saying is when you stand, you're done.
yes,
That's
once you
when they.
stand, it's
That's
the dealer's
they show.
turn. They show. Yep.
Yeah.
Which again, you can argue that it's not really on when your turn's over. It's again when the dealer's turn is up, and the dealer's just the last player.
But what's good about what we're talking about is that card is dealt out of the deck in the
Mhm.
very beginning when they deal. So
Yeah.
you should have a card that comes, you should have two cards out for the dealer, one shown, one not.
Exactly. In the beginning, we're going to have two cards that are shown in my version of it. So eventually, we'll add in the system to hide one
Yeah.
or to have face.
But
down
it's when the
cards.
timing of it too, because it has to be taken out of the deck prior to your turn.
Yep.
You don't even need
Yeah.
to hide it. You can just choose to only display the first
Hmm.
card.
Yeah. We can have like I think the term we use is hidden. I commented out for the moment, but it's just a Boolean value of whether or not it's face up or face down. You can call is hidden, or you can say face down, true or false, or is face up, any of those things. Any option you want to use to showcase whether or not the card is upside down or face up, whether the value is up on the table. And so then during that, the table classes display cards, it can go through each hand and just if it's face up, or the display method on the card can say if face down, 3 stars. Because my version, again, we saw that my version takes up what is it? 3 characters.
Yeah.
So a face down card could just be 3 stars or 3 asterisks. And then a face up card actually shows. And so my display method can just say, oh, if is face down, return 3 stars. If face up, run the display the normal behavior. So, yep. Yeah, no, that's the very cool thing. And yeah, the table display cards can just iterate through all the hands and display all the items. Display all of them. So good stuff. So you have that. Anyway, continue on. You have your game class next.
Game class, number of rounds, number of players, score, winner, dealer cards. Yeah, I don't know why I have deal cards in there. Oh, I have
Yeah.
deal cards. That's all right.
Yeah, yeah. Even
Because
though
it's like one of the
card
first thing
deals-
that happens. Yeah.
Yeah. The card, the deck class just draws a single card.
Yeah,
I still
ended
need
up
something that
doing-
actually triggers all the deal that tells it how many times to draw. Yep. Oh, look
I
at you! You
ended
got a
up
nice big
doing mine.
whiteboard. I love it.
Yeah. But I noticed that I didn't put in a slit in it, so I need to redo my whiteboard.
I'll be fine. We'll get there. No, definitely good on that. Yep. No, you definitely need the deal cards method that triggers the dealing of all the cards that make sure we draw enough cards to all the players
Yeah.
and all the hands. Yep. Good there. Player class and a player. I'm curious if that actually belongs to the player class, but all right. I think that's supposed to be the constructor, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
I like the YouTube videos.
What's that?
Yeah,
Like the
YouTube videos.
right there on
Blackjack.
H.
Oh.
I know, I was
That's for
looking at
free.
that.
I know. I played a
His
game where
back.
we had YouTube videos in it, so I
I'm surprised to
figured it
start
had to
video,
be-
not start Despacito.
Lock.
I forgot the name of it. Yeah, I would have put that.
Let's see. deal cards, which again, that's something we can argue whether or not that belongs there. I think you already have it in game, so I don't think
Yeah, I
the dealer
do.
needs
I
it.
was
Yeah.
unsure.
No
Like
worries.
display cards,
Fine.
whatever.
Help displays
Help. I
Interesting,
think
okay.
like having a help of like, you know, that the cheat sheet,
Okay, cool.
Oh, yeah.
That could be an extra
That would-
feature, yeah,
that would be a good feature to have, like as an extra.
as a hidden feature.
Not hidden, or it's like
Okay.
it's legal at casino. It's not like you can't have
Not
that
true.
card.
You just can't count cards.
Yeah.
Alright. It looks good. Interesting kind of layout. Yeah, very cool layout. Makes sense. I see some logic behind it, so very good. Back to the wheel.
Dude,
At least now Keith is safe.
dude.
Ooh. Pink.
Oh no.
Keith.
Keith again.
The name just switches over all of a sudden, like, wait a minute. All right, Emilio, you're up.
All right, so I made mine on a notepad over
right.
a spreadsheet for now.
That's fine.
Yeah, so I didn't add what we made in class.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, so for my player class, that's the name. I was gonna make it how the browser
You
game we played. Yeah,
Ah. All right, that works.
so each player gets 1,000 to start.
Hmm.
They have the action of hit, stand, double, split, surrender. The
Interesting.
dealer displays their card. And
Understand,
then the game class will add how many players, get the players' bets, deal the cards, get the player's turn or action, and determine if the player won.
Yeah, those seem valid. Like I said, I'm just not sure what. For me, it's just where the cards being stored, like the hand and stuff. Are they stored in the player and the game class? Where are those being stored? But again, as long as you can come up with that later, this is technically a good starting plan of attacks. You can start with this. We don't know where that part stuff is. You get player bets. All right, that's a
Yeah,
plan
I
of
need to
attack.
add hand for sure.
Yeah, and hands will probably help. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hand, or at least some way of storing the cards somewhere. Because right now I don't see where the cards are. You say deal
Yeah.
cards, but deal cards where? So, yep.
Yeah.
There's something else that needs to be here. Good. That's a good start. All right. Gotta take back over. Back to the wheel. Hit it. That's twice it.
That'll be
Just
more.
barely skipped Richie. Twice it's kind of teased that it's going to pick Richard, but it hasn't done it. Go for it, Sergio.
Yep, I'm fiddling with the interface here. Okay. All right. So pretty simple one so far. I just yeah, I still kind of in the middle of implementing it because I don't want to overcomplicate it. But I mean, I see the point of throwing stuff in there and then removing what you think you won't need. But
Yep.
yeah, I mean, right now, I have the deck shuffles and deals, and then the part I was trying to focus on is like, how am I going to do the player? Basically, I was reading, as you can. Oh, I don't have it open here. Hold on.
Early that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was reading the rule set of.
Oh wow.
And I saw that everybody has like their own little betting box. So I'm trying to think of maybe having a table class basically that has a betting. I gotta figure out, but yeah, having each player have their own betting box and then basically take from there.
Yep.
So yeah, each player is gonna have funds, and then each player is gonna have the option to do the necessary functions, including a surrender option, which I still don't know what it does, but I'm gonna read on it and see what it does and maybe implement it. And yeah, each player has a hand and the name, because we have names. Anyway,
yep, people need names.
Yeah, so so far, this is as I get more knowledgeable on the game, because again, my
Yeah.
knowledge in the game is based on a game
Well,
within
I
a
know
game.
something we can add.
Which is fine.
And I kept thinking, that the people
Play
who
Despacito.
make these games within games have to code within code, which is like kind of crazy, to think about. Somebody had to do a blackjack game inside of another game, basically. And,
Pretty much, yep.
So,
Nowadays, a lot of them, since they're made by these major companies, they just kind of reuse the code and just change the assets. Because you understand that Rockstar, who makes that, also makes GTA. And so they probably just took the GTA Blackjack code and just reused it in there.
interesting
So,
insight. Yeah, I didn't see it
yeah.
that way. See, that's the mind of a developer.
Reusability. All they have to do now is just change the assets from the modern cards in a modern table to a table from the Wild West and the cards from the Wild West. So the visuals probably changed, but the logic and the gameplay mechanics are probably very much similar. So that's what's really interesting to keep in mind. So while you maybe your source of knowledge of the game, it's a valid source of knowledge for the game. So,
yeah.
You have a cheating game and you have the cheating blackjack in GTA, the same as the cheating blackjack in Red Dead Redemption.
Maybe I'll look up the source code for see how they did it.
Because Rockstar is known for putting their code on.
That's gonna be a hard one to crack. I don't think Rockstar's ever been, to my knowledge, I don't think they have been hacked. So
yeah, not aware of their source code being leaked.
Right.
Just run a memory debugger.
There you go.
And watch the code run in memory, and then you can figure out how, and then you have to like translate it.
But then you're only going to get the data, not really the scripts. That's gonna be tricky.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks for the code for the stuff. By
Yeah,
the way,
code.
that's pretty neat there. I think I have it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It shows up like this. I wish it was a little bigger, but I'm sure.
It's all good. All good.
But yeah, I mean, I like that.
You
So
have to change the font of the console if you want to make it bigger. So you would have to change your console font.
There you go. I implemented that on my, because I have right now in my system, the way that I have it is in enums basically with the ranks and suits. So
yeah.
But yeah,
that's a good starting point. Like I said, you have a couple things you're gonna get into, like, and where the player is being held, what's the flow of the game. So you don't have like the game flow yet. So there's definitely some more things here that you need to be able to build the game, but the player class makes sense. At least I can see the logic behind it. Table box, I see where you're going with it, but I would feel like there may be more for the table that you might see later on. But we'll get into that more as we go. Yeah, you definitely want to build that out a little more. Overall, good.
I know something we can add. Player's card.
Player's card.
Something to split.
Yeah, when you go to a casino, they ask you, "Do you have a card?"
Oh, we're betting.
And then they give you points for playing for so long.
Yeah.
For real. And then they give you free
I know that
food.
they have those. Yeah, the casinos had that stuff. One of my exes had a gambling addict ex as well. So she told me a lot of the stuff that he had and problems in. The thing that's always like drove her nuts the guy thought he was great because he would sometimes get the free meal at the buffet.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay. Free.
you do realize you probably spent $300 at the casino to get the free meal at the buffet. So this really isn't great. You could have just taken me to a buffet.
Exactly. You got to justify it.
Yep, that's what it was.
And that whole little card thing becomes, yeah. The whole little card thing becomes addictive too. I've seen it.
Yep.
They'll never get the card, and they want to know who you are all the time.
Oh yeah, then they can track you and try to realize what you like and try to offer you things for certain games and stuff. Yep. Like, hey, have 1,000 free credits on this game because we know you play it like every time you come here. This is you play this game every single time. You may play others, but this is the one you always go to. So
they have
here's 1,000 free credits to that game. It's like,
they have an algorithm on you.
So they totally do.
For real.
Yep. They know what you like. They know where you go. They know what times of day you go. So they know what kind of deals to offer. They know, again, how long you play on certain machines. So they can, what I feel like, and I'm worried that this is something that they might be even doing that I wish someone would do an investigation on, is they research and find out that normally you spend about an hour on a machine or half an hour on a machine that when you're getting close to that half an hour, they start letting you win a little bit. The game is programmed to start letting you win so that you'll actually stay on longer than the half an hour. You're like, oh, I got good luck coming. So you spend time on longer, and then the boost to your luck is taken away. Like, they can't set the game up where they are purposely making you lose, They're not allowed to do that. Where they lower they can't make the rate of winning on a game lower than what they advertise. They have to advertise the rate of the win rate of a game. They can't reduce it, but they are technically legally allowed to let you to raise the rate of winning with no issue. They can make it easier for you to win. And they don't have to tell you that. They don't have to let you know that they've done that. But they can, as long as they keep it at or above the rate that they have listed, the odds that they have listed. That is.
I know someone that used to work on a casino that when they did the switch to cards, and he said that everything is rigged. Everything.
Oh yeah.
They know everything about you. They know what you like to play. And exactly like you said, when they know, oh, after so many minutes you're gonna stop to play, they let you win something. So it keeps you playing more.
And they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to raise the ratio, the chance of winning, but they can't go below what they advertise. That's considered illegal and that's considered deceptive. So whatever the odds they have listed on the system, that's their baseline. But they can raise those odds and make it easier for you to win all they want. And temporarily they can do it. They can do that temporarily and then bring it right back down to their advertised. So just be aware of that if you are trackable with those cards, they will adjust the game to try to keep you playing. It is a malicious industry. That's why I try never to go.
That's why I don't go. I don't like.
I don't play the digital ones.
Like,
as a developer, I just know what I could do. I started to learn, like, how could I manipulate this system? Like, I now realize, like, ooh, this could be, I could be really evil with this thing.
Even Blackjack, they deal it so fast that you're not even thinking about the money you just lost. You're on to the next hand so quick.
Well, that's it. They want to keep it going, keep it going, keep it going.
Yeah.
Yep. Speed. Yep. 100%. And they want you to respond to them quickly so that you don't have a lot of time to think, so you can't count the cards easily. They try to make it as difficult as you can.
It's the most devastating addiction out of all the addictions.
Can be.
Because of the amount of people it affects around you. Because you'll steal, you'll lie, you'll do whatever it takes to continue to do what you're doing.
Mostly because you want to get back what you lost. And that's the biggest hurt there is that.
But more than like a drug addict, it's more devastating than somebody who's on drugs when they
I
gamble.
can see that.
I mean, the endorphin rush is the same.
Yep.
this was the best thing about growing up with video games. When I put a quarter in, I knew I wasn't going to get it back.
Yeah, very true. Yep. It wasn't a gamble. I was like, I put this away. I got rid of my coin. It's gone. Period.
So I go to casinos, I don't bet a lot. I was like, I can't see how people can walk in there, like put $100 or $200, $300 into a machine. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's like, are you planning to actually lose this amount of money and walk out with almost nothing? I mean, seriously, you're ready, you know? I want to get return on my value. If I'm gonna
I
go
took a visit to Vegas.
I
Yeah.
go buy something.
I did visit Vegas once. My cousin got married and he had me there as his best man. And so, yeah, I was in Vegas. He gave, as a gift, he gave me a little bit of money because I was let go of my job a couple weeks before I went with him. So he was like, I'll help you out. Yeah, that's unfortunate. So he gave me some money to play with. And I'm like, I went in there knowing like, well, the money he gave me, I'm not going to keep. I went there saying like, this money's gone most likely. So that was my mentality. And that's what helped me resist. I treated it like like an arcade game where it's like, if I put this money in, don't expect it to come back. It does, great. If it doesn't, that's normal. John's up. Wow. This thing is in a teasing mode right now and likes to keep saying like, I'm going to pick this person. Nope. Stop share. Go for it, John. What you got?
So I just did like a list of everything that I would have. Obviously, I just have the card, just gonna hold what values it has. And hand's gonna just have a list of cards. Every player is gonna have one. And then the interface that we made, and then the standard deck. And then I actually made two different
deck too.
Yeah, because I have the test deck, like that just makes the cards. But my idea I just had was I would have like something that would actually handle like just grabbing whatever card I want. So just making it out of thin air. Like it would ask you, but it would still check if that's in the deck.
Okay. Yeah. Interesting. Very cool.
I also want like a little cheater thing. So like I can play normally, but then if I want to change the odds, I can just put in something that will actually give me what I want.
I was waiting for it. Yeah, you get the cheat code deck. Yep. If you put in a certain command, it'll let you pull a card out of your sleeve, technically. Fun. I like it.
And the
So
blackjack deck is like
yeah.
4 more than one deck.
Gotcha.
I haven't done that yet, but yeah, again, it doesn't really matter for this because it's probably going to be small, but it'd be nice to have. Yeah, and the actor stuff I wasn't sure about, so I just put a name in there. I wasn't sure what to do for that.
Yep.
Yeah, and then player with cards just has a hand which will have the list of cards, and that'll be handled by that. And then I extended that because I wanted to have the dealer and the actual blackjack player different. So the blackjack player class will have everything that has to do with betting, but then I'm not sure what else the dealer would do besides just, have like set actions for each thing that the blackjack player can do. Yeah, and then obviously the dealer's not going to have any bets.
Yeah.
And then I have my abstract game that's just going to handle like the getting the players and stuff, so I don't have to redo all that logic. Just going to get their names and then get the amount and then just add them.
Good.
Yeah, and the actual game, I'm just gonna have a list of players, and then because the values and the scoring is gonna be specific to blackjack, it's gonna have a method that'll actually take the value and then say, okay, if it's one of the face values, then return 10. Or if it's ace, it'll have logic that'll say whether it should be 1 or 11. And then I was gonna have methods that'll handle like the blackjack or 5-card Charlie and adjust the player's bets accordingly.
Sounds.
And then, yeah, I was thinking of like the game is just going to keep going until they leave. So it's going to have an option like they can just get up and leave, or they just continue.
Or they can be forced to leave if they run out of money, of course.
Actually, I was thinking like you get a loaning system like that lets you play, but then
so you can go negative. So when you add in the loan shark method, when they go 5,000 into the hole, they lose.
That exists. They'll come up to the table.
Very realistic game.
There you go.
That's right.
Card GUI, very nice.
Yeah, and then again,
so this can be really useful, as you see. Like sometimes Plan of Attack can include. You can include some of the notes for the method. Like you don't always have to put in the full logic, but put in some notes about how what the requirements for that method is. So pretty good concept. Yeah. The rounds give everyone 2 cards, go through the turns, and maybe end the round if the dealer starts at 21, shuffle deck, all that fun stuff. You have the turn, show hands, only show first dealer card, all that fun stuff. Yep. And then on that round 1, maybe end the round if the dealer starts with 21. You can do that if you don't implement an insurance system. That if you don't implement an insurance system or surrender system, as soon as you deal all the cards, if the dealer has 21, you can instantly end the round and just pay out naturally if they have blackjack. So you could choose to do that if they have the hard blackjack. So if they have a soft 21, like a 10 ace, then you don't do that. These are things you can decide. Some systems do that. So I have had a casino game that the blackjack gets blackjack. Sorry, the dealer gets blackjack, then that round is just killed and you lose your bet immediately. So and that's because they didn't have the insurance system. So it was a waste of time to have the player even play the round because you can't push a blackjack. But soft blackjack, a soft 21, you could definitely play that through, get a push. But anyway, definitely good plan of attack there. And for you, some people, I'll admit, if the outline works better for you rather than the Excel spreadsheet, go for that. Like I want to make sure people understand you don't have to do the spreadsheet. That's not the way you have to do it. That worked for me. That also helped. I think it helped a little bit more with the students. So for me, that's the way I went with it. Like I said, sometimes my plan of attacks are whiteboard based. Sometimes my plan of attacks use the spreadsheet. And sometimes I'll create the plan of attack using an outline. It depends also on the project as well. So use a mix. Find the thing that helps you understand what you're building and helps make it as easy as possible to minimize the time you're sitting there trying to figure it out live and then accidentally write code that you didn't have to fix a whole bunch of. So that's the main goal of the plan of attack, is to make sure you know the path you're going to take to completion. At the same time, it can help to make sure that you're not trying to code on the spot where then you build something like, oh, this actually is horrible. I wasted time and have to undo or move things around or refactor a whole bunch because you tried to do something from scratch without any sort of plan of what you were doing. So good stuff though. You're good. Back to the wheel. Got 4 left. Who's it gonna be?
So can we implement the loan shark where if you're gonna take them back, they'll just go back and
Oh, I couldn't hear that one. The clapping and the shouting was a little too much. So what was that, Jim? Something about the card shark, the loan shark?
Yeah, if you can't pay back the loan shark, it'll just format your hard drive.
Oh Jesus. I'm not sure if Java has access to that. That would be bad. You got a lane. Ooh, you got whiteboard version. Nice.
All right. So I think it's really good that I'm following John because I think I'm the polar opposite of John. I made this list first. And I'm going to tell you, I am not logical. I'm not sequential. And I don't think in lists. So I made this list and all I think is like, well, some of that stuff seems right to me and some of it doesn't. So then I made a diagram. Let me see if I can move this thing around. Here's my table.
I like it.
I have a dealer and I have a player. They both have money. They have cards. They have a hand. They have a name. The dealer can bet. I mean, the player can bet. The dealer can't bet. This is my game. Like it's a game. There's a bet on the table, which tells me I now think, well, if I'm going to have a table, I'm going to have the bet on the table. I have a win on the table. The deck is on the table. Maybe the table runs the deck. Maybe the dealer runs the deck. I'm not really sure. And a card is in the deck. Yep. If you lose your bet, the table takes it. If you win your bet, you get a winning. So that's how I think about it. Like from here, I would probably go from here and make a new version of this.
That's fine by me.
Which is
honestly, I want to just thank you, Elaine, for doing this because it lets people know like there is no one way to do a plan. If this helps you to understand what's going on, do this. Like these are things I've seen in companies the diagrams like this, where they are not fancy and you have this, I'm going to pick a little bit on it, but you have this kind of scribbled deck thing here and this scribble right here. And this is great. And these hands that only have 4 fingers, it's great. And then like the player has 4 fingers, but the dealer has 5. No one cares in the actual developer world. They're not going to pay attention to that. The idea is getting the concept down, you know? No one's going to be picking on your system. No one's going to be like, that doesn't actually look like a table. Dollar signs have 2 lines in it. No one cares, you know? That's not the point of this. The idea here is that I can look at this and be like, all right, I can see some organization here. I can see some boxing in where I can see how things are keeping track of. I can see the relationship between things. Seeing that, you know what, yeah, the deck can be either with the table or with the dealer. It kind of can go either way. And then I can decide how that works when I build it, right?
Yeah.
And that's a great way to kind of look at some of these things because we can get bound by that idea like, oh, the dealer deals the cards, but yet, wait, no, the deck is actually on the table. So maybe the dealer doesn't have to deal the cards. Maybe the table can. Because again, we're dealing in the digital realm. We don't have to have a human physically pick up cards in my console to hand them out because the cards don't physically exist. So this could be really interesting on that. And yeah, the idea that the bet can be on the table. And again, I'm going to add a little bit to that when we get to my version of it, that you guys are going to see something really interesting in how this works. But no, I like the design. I like this idea of being able to, whatever fits your brain the best to help you visualize things, go for it. And don't worry if it looks weird or if you're not the best artist, that's fine.
Oh, I am the best artist. I'm just not the best artist on this. I'm using this.
You actually have you have the tablet too now?
Yeah, I have my little tablet.
I
hate this thing. But I don't care. Like, I think, like for me now, I would from here say.
I didn't know the Miro app. I'll have to look up this app.
This Miro. This thing it's the best. The
was I
best.
was using a different one. I didn't care for it. So I might have to look up Miro now.
Look like you have all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like you have
Press
all
button. Oh
these
wow.
things. And then
Okay, yeah,
watch-
I'm going to look this app up now.
And then watch this. If you go here, they have all these templates to do. I mean, they got about
Done.
500 of them.
Done.
It is
Yeah,
great.
look at that flow chart.
Seriously.
I
Yeah.
lost my.
Why do I have this whiteboard?
Step aside draw IO or whatever the name.
lost
I
my,
forgot the name of it already.
It's called Miro. MIRO.
Yeah, I'm in the upper left.
Miro.
But check this thing out.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's right here.
And so they have a downloadable version, it looks like.
Yeah, you can download it. They give you
Nice.
some. They let you use a lot of stuff for free. This board is huge. Look how big this is.
Yeah, they.
Goes
I think it's
on
an
and
infinite
on and
board. I
on
was gonna
forever.
say it's the concept known as an infinite board.
Yeah.
So and those are really really cool. They are really useful to have that.
This is actually Miro is actually a visual online collaboration, so we could actually all be on the
You can all work
yeah.
on the same thing at the same time.
Yeah,
Yes.
I was gonna say they have the online version of it as well, the shareable version too. So
No, you just invite people. Look here, you can invite people to your board,
nice.
and then you can all be collaborating on the same board. It's totally
There you
awesome.
go.
This is great, great, great. I have not tried everything that's in here. There's like, I've tried about 1% of what they offer, and I love it. And I haven't looked at all the other stuff.
Cool. We could play boxes. We could play tic-tac-toe.
Oh yeah, you can play everything. You can
Oh,
play
God.
Hangman.
There's also a Miro app that could be implemented into Slack,
No way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
so you can share it to like Slack.
Yes.
I might need to do that, but
So anyway, what I would do here is like, I like that I put these things in red. So I like I would want to put my bet on my table, put my cards on my table. I would want the table to figure out who won. I want the table to track my players. I was thinking that my player would be is this right? An abstract class, and there would be a dealer and their players, and I would have a dealer or I would have a player.
I can see
And then
that.
the
Yeah,
dealer would have a different what do you
different
call it?
logic. Yep.
Yeah. That's how I kind of was thinking about it. You
Yeah,
see how this
100%.
doesn't make any sense. Like if you look at this, it doesn't make any sense at all. Because I'm just throwing stuff around. Like I'm throwing
So
some.
that's kind of how it starts. Again, a plan doesn't have, the plan's just kind of getting your mind and your thought process on paper so you don't lose track of anything and you can kind of see what's there. So you start deciding like, well, now I can see visually and decide, well, what do I need to build? Well, I know that this requires that. Like here, I can see that in your setup, the players have a hand. So that would tell me that I need to create the hand class first to make sure that the player can then have one, right? And so that's what this can really do for me, is it can help me decide the order of what items I build in which order. And that's what can help with this. It's not really going to tell me what I'm going to code, but it can help me to kind of get up a plan of like, what order should I want to build things in? What relies on what, so that I can build those things in the right order that really benefit right, you know?
Yeah.
So I can build things out. And that's really what it does, to make sure I don't forget certain pieces too, to make sure I remember all the features and all the capabilities that I want in. So very good, very, very cool. Very, very nice. So
All right.
did I add that down there? I think I did. Get rid of that. Cool. Great, great stuff. Glad someone was willing to go and do a totally different version of a plan of attack. And yeah, you can see, I got it.
Good. This is the first time, like I've always made the lists and I always feel really uncomfortable with the list. This is the first time when I was able to think, you know what, this is not how I think. Let me just go to how I think.
Yep.
So it's the first time that I could translate from what we were doing to the way I
Not
was.
this time, Richie. Sounds good. You're not getting skipped this time. That one's definitely hitting you.
I had great luck before. I can't complain.
You did. 2 out of 3. You got good luck. So, all right, stop share. All right, go for it.
All right. So not too much different than everybody else's, really. Just
I like the addition of the color coding. So that's kind of nice.
yeah, I figured I'd try to be more organized this time because I'm usually pretty bad at that.
I can understand the feeling.
So yeah, it's just I kind of based the card and the deck off of what I already have in the
That's fine,
assignment
yeah.
that we had.
Yeah, so you did the override 2-string where I did the display, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah. And then same thing, just a hand has cards in it. You can add cards and remove cards. And then the player and the dealer are both kind of similar.
Yeah. So I will say this is one of those items I always tell people to be careful of. I'm going to point it out just to see if hopefully catch you so you can avoid it later on. This thing right here, I'm going to assume that your hand is a list of cards, right?
Yeah.
And so in that case, we would have a length method we can use, right? Then we have the dynamic live version that we don't have to constantly maintain. With a int cards in hand, this is one that you have to remember to maintain. Anytime you add a card or remove a card, you have to remember in your code to actually increment or decrement this counter. It's managed by you. Where the length parameter is managed automatically. And so this can be a kind of a yellow alert kind of thing where it's a heavy, it's a very susceptible item to logic errors. Because there's going to be if you ever have a spot in the code where you forget to increment or forget to decrement, it's just going to throw off your code. You're most likely not going to get an error unless it's an index error, but most likely you won't. And so it's going to be confusing as to why your code's acting up. You may not realize it's because you just forgot to manage this. So these items that are counters that can be done by using a dynamic field that is being managed by something else automatically, it's just, it opens you up to logic errors. And so I try to avoid them. They're not a bad thing to have. If you want them, keep them. But I always like to let people know that those things are they're very susceptible to logic errors because you're managing something that is already being managed for you. That's all. Dealer and player both they have their hands. They got the dealer seems to have the deck for you, which again, that's fine. If it works for you, that works. Blackjack, you get the list of players, you have a dealer separate, and the pool, I'm guessing is the money or something. All right.
Yeah, just like the total bets from the players.
Awesome.
The only thing I didn't lay out was a UI class, but
yeah, which is fine. That's something I will admit the UI class is one that I tend not plan because I build out the UI as I need things from the user. As I'm like, oh, I need to ask for this, I need to display this. Once I realize, oh, I need to display something, that gets added. So that's one of the methods, that's one of the classes I tend not to plan because I can't really plan what I'm going to need to display or ask for. I'll let the other systems realize, oh, yep, I need to ask for this. That's a method. Oh, I need to display this. There's my method. So yeah, the UI is the one that I kind of let the code tell me what to do. Good stuff. No, I like it. And yeah, the organization is really nice. And yeah, it gives you a good starting point. Very well done.
Thank you.
All right, next up. Flip the coin this time.
I joined your group, Cliff.
What group?
Your Miro group.
I have a Miro group? What?
Yeah, I said, yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about right now. You're already ahead of me again. I have a group. All right, sure. Here we go. Flipping the coin.
Doesn't even have it doesn't even have it already still, but I already have the group.
There you go. All right. Ready's up.
Open his whiteboard for the first time. It's going to say Jim was here.
What was that?
So you're going to open the whiteboard for the first time. It's going to say Jim was here.
I'm going to see a tic-tac board. That's what I'm going to see. I'm going to see a tic-tac board and there's going to be an X already in it. It's like, dang it, Jim, you want to play? Fine.
I signed up on the career devs and it came up and it said, there's one group and it said Cliff. I'm like, okay, I'll join that.
I wonder if it's because of the domain name. Words, please. Thank you.
I have a simple plan of attack.
Walk us through how your plan of attack works. So, the reason why I wanted to show yours mostly is just because I want, again, people to see other ways of planning an attack. If this works for you, then that's what matters. So I want people to see other methods of plans of attack so that people can see if this one makes more sense to them, if they can follow your plan of attack better than they follow their own, so they can kind of adopt this one or even integrate it into their existing plan of attack, kind of merge it. So
I usually forget to do a plan of attack. So this is just like what I did right now. Is what I do when I think about what I'm doing. So I just think about the classes that I want and I put them inside of the code. And then after I do that, I comment inside of the code different methods that I want to do and different fields that I want to put. I usually put methods and fields in there, but blank, as if they were like abstract, and then just comment on top the to-dos of what I want. And this is like what I had for the actor, what I wanted them to do. And I take another card. If it's a hit, if it's a stand, you end your turn. And then that's just like my thinking. And that's what I did for all of them. I don't have them all here because I forgot to write them down.
That's all
I usually delete them after I do them. Because I've actually been doing Blackjack because I didn't know we weren't supposed to do it.
I'm not going to stop anyone of you from coding.
And this is an optional one that I was going
You're out
to
of
do.
here.
But I decided to not do it.
And again,
'Cause I
for
didn't
me
want-
on that case, so Freddie, for that, it's in my situation, it's also very curious to see, since you've already built it, how yours compares to mine once I built mine. And so being able to see the differences between
Yeah, it's
yours
not
and mine.
fully
to say that
built, but I
yours is
have
worse
most
than
of
mine
it.
or better than mine, but just to see those differences. How did I approach it differently than you? As I'm curious on your player and hand classes, like
Want to see my prototype?
to an extent, yes, but not too much code though.
Alright.
I'm curious about the player class though.
I also built a blackjack.
Nice, Mike.
Yeah, my actor is just a player for now. I'm just gonna change that after.
And Mike, yours actually handles splitting and everything too, or no?
Yeah, it's not perfect. I still need to figure out some things.
Yeah.
Like when I bust on a split, it affects it sometimes. I'm not able to get to all the hands.
Yeah, so mine, this is mostly just old comments. It's not active right now, but usually I have like everything is split into the hand and the split hand because
Okay, so the actor.
my
has a
rules are
hand.
like you
Got
can't split more than 2 times. So you can
Nice.
only have 2 hands at most.
I see that. Okay. Yep.
Because otherwise I would have to have a list of hands and then a hand class. And then I'd have a list of bets. And I was like, nah, you're forced to only have 2.
Well,
Yeah.
that's
See, I want you to remember what you just said because you might have to say it again later. But we'll touch base on that later.
I would say that a nested list would help on having the splitting hands and multiple hands for one player.
There's another way we can do it.
Yep.
All
Yeah.
right. So.
And it's like, just like that.
Oh, wait a
These-
minute. What, you would do more than one split in a real game?
Oh yeah.
You can, I
We
think.
had like 4
You can
splits
do
at
up
one
to, you
time.
can have up to 4 hands, yeah.
Yeah.
I looked it up.
There is a limit.
You can have up to 4 hands.
I didn't realize there was an actual limit. My understanding is in Blackjack, as long as you have a pair and you have the bet to the funds to cover it, you can split as many times as you want, as long as you have.
I think
a
they
pair,
had a limit for like time efficiency.
potentially. But I'm just saying, and yeah, if
Well, you
you
can't
aren't
even
worried
fit it
about
on the
time
board
efficiency, yeah,
or
as
the
long as you have a
table.
pair and you have the bet to cover it, you can cover the additional cost, then you can split.
Yeah, and I saw that some of them also, even if it's not the same, as long as both the cards are like over like the value, like if they're at least 10, then you can split as well. That's one of the
Some
rules.
places,
that I saw.
again, some places do hard splits where they have to be an exact pair. Some places do a value split, where if they're the same value, you can split on them. So, yeah, Jack and Queen can split. That's a soft split rule, but a hard split rule is Jack and Jack can split.
You know,
King,
I don't have my
Queen.
packaging done yet, but that's like what it was going to be like.
Good stuff. All right. No, very cute, very interesting to see that. But yeah, I see. Yeah, so that's how you handled your handing player class with the splits and stuff. Good.
Yeah,
Alright.
and my shuffle thing is entirely different. That's like one of the things that me and Keith were talking about, that I don't use a shuffle. I just give it a value and I move it. I just give it a random position and then I sort it. Because I didn't know about the
Grabbing
shuffle
a card from
method.
somewhere in the deck, right?
Actually, it's just moving it. It assigns a position. This is a variable inside of the card. It gives it a random position and then it moves it there. It's a sorting. And that's just
Very
how I did
interesting.
it.
Yeah, very cool. No, again, was curious if we did that. Yeah. So, all right, last but certainly not least, our fresh faced Travis.
This is the second. I was last in the other one we did.
Yeah, you were.
He's last, so he doesn't have to go. I'm pretty sure that's the rule.
I was gonna say this is probably why Keith probably doesn't want to go ahead with the rule that the last person to go? Because that means Travis multiple times would have been cleared.
I hate
cool.
going last.
Travis gets cleared.
That's why you're last.
See, you can't say
The
that out
wheel
loud.
screwed me.
Yeah.
You've just convinced the wheel every time now. He's last.
I love going last. It's my favorite.
It picks you first next time and you didn't want to go.
Yep, that's it. Now that you said that, the next time you're gonna go first when you didn't do the assignment.
That's the best.
You should just
Or the
volunteer to go
worst.
first.
I don't even know. Now I'm confused.
Yeah, to me, there's no best opportunity. There's no best spot. If you're the first, then you're the person that
Casino's
everyone.
only one split.
Because then you're the first person everybody looks at and judges. If you're last, you're the last. You're the last impression that everyone remembers. Everyone remembers the last person. And if you're in the middle, you're waiting for it, and you're never ready for it because you're never ready when to go. But at least when you do go, then you're done for the thing. So it's like there's no best spot. There's no optimal.
I'm gonna rip the Band-Aid off.
Yeah,
Person.
If you're rip the Band-Aid off person, you want to go first. Yeah. That's why Jim always volunteers. Jim loves to volunteer because he's a rip the Band-Aid off guy. I know it. I know that if he ever had a Band-Aid on or duct tape on, he'd be like, just tear it.
Yeah.
One shot.
You guys
all the
do
way
it
off.
eventually. You can't put it off. You have to do it eventually.
Yeah.
Might as well get it over with.
Yeah, he's not a slowly peel it off little by little just to minimize the overall pain. He's like, just take it all off so I get one sharp pain.
So when I start from my outline, I usually go and I get the basic rules of the game.
Flow, right? Yeah.
And so I start and I break it down just on the basic rules of the game. And then I jump over to my spreadsheet and I start to kind of just rough out my classes and fields and methods that I want to have. And that's what I have going on here. I have a table class that has the game, and then I have a game that has the player list and rounds. And then I have my player class where they bet, a wallet, and cards / hand. I wasn't sure how I'm gonna play with that one yet. Then I have your basic hit, stand, split, bust, win methods. Then I have a separate class for dealer. I don't know if I'm going to keep that or not, but they have all the same methods except for split, because the dealer doesn't split. If that's correct.
Right. Dealer, while they have, according to as far as the game is concerned, the dealer has access to that method or that action. The dealer never takes it because of the rules that they were given. Again, that's the thing to remember. Again, that's why I'm trying to hint towards this concept of the actor. The game sees everyone as the same. The game Blackjack sees the dealer and the player as identical in what they can and can't do. It's the casino or the dealer that imposes the certain rules that they have and how they make their decisions. Again, we're going to talk about, we will discuss a third potential actor that I might not implement with you all, but it's going to be the card counter AI. And so this will be we're going to discuss a actor class that will be a card counter that will decide their action based on counting the cards versus what they have. And so this
cheating
will be
player.
Pretty much a cheating player in a way.
Cheater.
They'll have a field in their class that has the current count of the game, and will modify it as it looks through as the cards are dealt and they can see certain cards. Will modify its counting, and then when the system asks the actor, "Hey, what do you want to do?" Well, again, a player will hit the console. A dealer will do the 17 or up stand, anything below sit. The card counter will have its own logic process, evaluating its card count, evaluating its hand, and then deciding it based on the card counter strategy of what it's going to do, and then return that action that it then picks. And so for me, that's going to be, I feel like that'll be, again, be another very interesting approach to really explain and seeing how this interface system works, why it's such a interesting concept, and why it actually, and where you can see its benefit versus an abstract class. That's my goal for this. This is why I really like the Blackjack as an example. It actually used to be the project for you guys to build, but I always felt like I wasn't really getting out of it what could be gotten because we weren't really always getting to do the splits and the doubles out of it. I'm like, no, I can get more out of this by making this an example project first and really showcasing that abstract class and interface system through this project, through this game. So, no, very good stuff. I'm very curious to see. You have the bet there, you have the cards, so you have the hand in the player class, you have the dealer who has the deck, and the dealer in your game has the deck. But and then your deck has cards deck. Wait, what? Oh, got it. Never mind. I see what you're doing. Okay. I just saw card and then deck. I'm like, oh, cards or deck. Got it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, that's I always get a little confused when I do like. Then I would have to type deck.deck if I was actually looking into cards. Overall, good.
And
That was a
then
good start.
I
That
have,
was work
yeah,
with.
then I have a good outline of
For the flow.
kind of like how I'm gonna actually implement all those, like the methods and the fields. And then I do like, I have a little checklist that I go through as I build it.
Nice. Good stuff. And again, as long as everyone here knows that your plan of attacks, again, are not set in stone. You can add and remove things, modify methods, change ownership of things, change inheritance, change composition, all that fun stuff. All these things that you're planning are not set in stone. This is just giving you a starting point that allows you to say, okay, because when you look at all this, it looks like there's actually a good amount of stuff to do, right? It's a pretty decent amount of stuff. There's a good list of to-dos to do. And at first it'd be kind of daunting, like there's so much I got to build. What do I do first, right? What's the first thing I build? And so these plan of tasks can help to mitigate that and help you to kind of see the pathway to completion. Because then you can also look at each item and be like, what's the next thing I can add to this that I can also test too, right? Because a lot of what I've been showing you guys is how I want to make sure that I constantly get to a point where I can run something and see that it prints out what I'm expecting, that it behaves the way I'm expecting, right? And so with this plan of attack, I can look at everything like, well, what's the next thing I can bring in that I can then also test? Well, if I bring this in, I need this, so I can't test that if I bring this item in first. So let me bring that second item in first, so I can test that first. And so that way I can test the second item set later. So that's another real reason, like benefit of the plan of attack. It can help me to decide and pick and choose the right order so I can make sure I'm testing as I go and I'm running things as I go. Sound good?
Hey, what's your view on like, because the book I've been reading talks about test programming, writing that prior to actually
There's
writing
something
a
called
program.
test-driven development. Yep.
Yeah,
TDD.
extreme programming, they were calling it in the book.
Yeah. That's a new phrase for it, but yeah, test-driven development is you write the test first, and then you write only enough code to meet the test requirement. And well, a lot of people see the benefit of that is that it can fight what's called feature creep, which we've talked about before. So if you're someone that struggles with feature creep and you're not able to control it, test-driven development can be a great way for you to make sure you're not over-developing or over-coding and adding excessive items. Because yeah, you write a test that is always going to be part of the program that always should come back true. And then you write the code that just qualifies it. So the first test can be this function returns a number, and then you just return 0. You don't actually return anything dynamic. Later on, you bring the dynamicism with other tests, you know? Maybe that's what the book's called, by the way.
You write other tests that actually break it to know that it's actually broken, and make sure testing to make sure it is working like it's supposed to. Like you got to pass and you got one that can fail.
Gotcha. Yeah, man, he's asking for the name of the book, by the way.
Yeah.
And then
First
Mike,
Java.
great add there. And yeah, that's what I thought too. So yeah, Mike kind of clarified on the split. That there's the common rule allowing splitting pairs in one hand, usually up to 3 times the result. 4 hands can be created from 1. Some casinos, though, of course, allow 1 split only, and some even allow 6 or infinite splits. And this is one I was familiar with, the infinite split concept. That as long as you have the funds to cover it, split as many times as you want. Because again, the more hands you have as far as casinos is concerned, the more chances you have in a single round to bust and lose your funds. I can take more money in a single round from you. So as far as I'm concerned, I feel like casinos would benefit from unlimited splits. The only thing I could see why some of them might want to restrict it is because at the same time where I can make you lose a bunch in a single hit. If by some chance the dealer does bust, that all your splits, as long as they didn't bust, win. And so then I could also see that I'm losing a bunch in a single round too. So I could see both versions of limiting splits to like 4 versus infinite. I don't understand only allowing a person to do a single split. To me, you're just
Also, if
restricting yourself.
the person does a lot of splits and loses all at once, then they might not be willing to play more rounds.
That is true.
That's
Okay, good
also
point. There you go. I can see that. Okay.
psychological.
I can see that makes sense. Yeah, I gotta forget some of the casinos do go psychological on their reasoning too. Yep. Pen for Trip. I feel like I have that book as an ebook. Probably do somewhere. I think I got it from a Humble Bundle. I feel like I got that from a Humble Bundle. I got a bunch of Head First books, I think, from one Humble Bundle a while back.
Yeah, Humble Bundle has a bunch of good books.
Yeah, they periodically do coding book drops where they're all ebooks though. So just beware that if you don't read well with ebooks, don't get into it. if you're okay reading ebooks, be nice and get some decent books in there. They very commonly do like AI books, Java books, JavaScript, Python, and yes, they even do some gaming books. But I'm going to tell you guys to avoid those. I don't need any more of you building out more games right now. That you can do in your free time once you have the job. All right. Once you have the job, you want to make your own game and put it on the Steam store, go for it. I'll gladly be a beta tester. So, but before that, let's get you guys a paid job first. Then if you got the paid job, you can buy the asset you need. For those of you who aren't artists, like I could, as much as I would love to make a game, I would need to be able to afford buying the assets. I am not an artiste in any way, shape, or form. So, all right, good stuff. Yeah, let's get into mine now. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So first thing I want to do is again, I want to just kind of reiterate some of the stuff that we looked and we saw, some of the patterns we saw, and then really discuss this layout. So let's go ahead and back to the whiteboard now and get my pen ready. Woo. All right, so this is the whiteboard, good. So I'm actually going to borrow a bit from Elaine actually. So the normal blackjack table, of course, looks like this. It's the semicircle. And so, of course, the dealer is up here. They have their set right here. You have like player, 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 player. They have their kind of seats right there, right? And so it definitely feels like there could be a table, but let's see if we actually use anything that is table specific, right? We don't know yet if there's a specific table thing. We'll put the deck right here. And so in the first part of the game, we know that everybody gets 2 cards. So we have 2 cards. I don't care if they're face up or face down right now. Everybody gets 2 cards. But I will say that before they get the cards, what happens?
There's a shuffle that happens.
The shuffle happens, yep. But they bet, right? You only play the game if you put down a bet. So we'll put the bet here right now. Coin,
Thought of the shoe.
Coins, the chips, right? Yeah.
No, I'm saying the shoe. The shoe holds the cards.
Ah. Also, I'll put little players.
Yeah.
That I can't draw apparently. So we have players. And so the first thing we can kind of discuss and start coming up with theories right now is who has what, right? And so these are the first thing we can really discuss. So we know we have hands, we have decks, we have players, we have bets. So first thing first, who has the deck? Who has the deck? What item?
Dealer. The dealer has the deck, but the deck is in a shoe, and the shoe is multiple decks.
Okay. Now, in the casino, yes, the dealer has the deck, but in our game, does the dealer have to have the deck?
No.
No. Who else could have it if we had to argue?
The game
The
itself.
player. I was gonna say
The
the player.
player, the game, or the deck, or the table, right?
Yeah.
So the table we could also argue that maybe the table is the game class. So that's not game, that's game. So you can argue that the table or the game class, the deck has that. Who has the players?
The stools.
Stools. You could argue that, but who else could have it? I don't think we need a separate thing for stools, because then I would have to ask the same thing. Who has the stools?
It would be the game or the table as well.
Yeah, right. They're all sitting at the table, right? Or so then they would have that too. So the deck is here so far. The players are here. In that case, players and dealer, or maybe the dealer is separate. We don't know yet. But yeah, the dealer might be separated in the list system. So we know we have a dealer every round. We have a dynamic number of players. And that way we can confirm that the dealer goes last after all the players. We can iterate through the player list and then run the dealer separately last. So that's an option. Who has the hands?
Players.
All right, so the players have the hands. Say players. That makes sense right now. Yeah, players have the hand. The hand belongs to the player. I can see that.
The cards are dealt face up.
Well, I didn't put any details there. Yeah, when at the moment that doesn't really affect our gameplay right now.
No, but I'm
Yeah,
just
and our design. But yeah,
making
at the
an
moment I have them
observation.
all hands up. Yeah. All right. Who has the bet?
The dealer and players have hands.
Yeah. Well, again, we could also argue that the actor in that
Yeah.
case.
Well, the player has to have the bet because
Okay.
otherwise, if the table could have the bet, but then how do you know who
Who
made
it belongs
what
to,
bet?
right? That makes
It's
sense.
a contract.
could
Once
both have it.
once those cards are dealt and you have money down, it's a contract. You can't pick up the bet.
Right. That's an interesting approach.
So
then,
the
yeah,
player
so-
has a bet, but the table also has a bet.
Yeah, it's an
The
interesting
casino
discussion
has
there.
the bet at that point.
Yeah, the table might have it, the player might have it. Interesting thought. So let's think about this a little more. Let's go through a couple of scenarios. So let's say this player, they play normal. They hit once and then stand. And again, we don't care if they won or lose right now. We don't care if they win or lose. They hit once and then they stood, right? We'll say this player, they doubled. So they doubled and then stood, so they auto stand. So double gets one card and they double their bet. So they did that. We'll say this player, what's the other option we had? We had hit stand. This player just stands immediately. Now let's say this player splits, right? So now we have to give them 2 more cards and one of those move over here, but that's now 2 decks. But they also have to add another bet, right? So now let's ask again, where is now in a split, we have the 2 hands that a player has, right? And the double bet right now. And then we have the dealer's cards. Is it possible for the player to not win both or to win one and lose one?
Yes.
Yeah, like each hand in this is handled individually, right? Each hand has no relation at all to the other hand, do they? What about the bets? Same thing, right?
It's like bringing in
I
another
can
player.
treat those bets independently too. And on this hand, let's see, on this hand, I stand. But on this hand, what options do I have to do with it? What can I do with this hand?
Anything.
I can do all the same actions, right? That means I could also double, couldn't I?
Yep.
Which means this hand now has double bet and this one doesn't. So now let's ask again, who has the bet? What is the bet? What is the bet actually attached to? Is it actually attached to the player?
Attached to the
Like it's
cards.
still attached
It's
to the
attached to the
player.
hand, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of an interesting thought, right? So the hand is actually attached. The bet is actually attached to the hand.
It still is attached to the players in a way, right? Because it affects their
True.
like how much money that they have.
True, but yeah, it's still attached. There's still a connection to the player, and currently that still applies because our hand class is in the player. So we have the bet is in the hand though. Why did I just say band?
You should say
Hand.
it's in control of the player, but the bet is actually owned by the casino. Once you put that bet down, the
Oh, yeah.
casino owns it.
Well, that's where I'm saying like right now it's on the cards. So that way it's not really, well, yes, the player has it, but it kind of does. The hand actually is the one that's controlling it. So if the hand wins, then the bet is returned to the player. Or if the hand loses, the bet is lost. So it's based on the hand, not
It's an
based on whether the
intermediate.
player wins or not. It's based on whether the hand wins or not. So now I actually have to ask now too. Are we sure that the player has a hand, or does the hand have a player?
That's a good.
Player has a hand.
Makes a lot of sense for the hand to have a player, because when you
and that the-
split, then you got two. You have basically you have a new hand, and that hand is attached to the player.
True.
It's
But if the hand has the bet, I feel like it makes sense for the player to have a hand.
Yeah.
It makes sense for the hand to be players because in reality, it's just 2 things. One with the bet is that the bet gets subtracted from the player immediately because the player just gave over some money. Whether or
Right.
not he wins or not, that's determined later in the game. So the bet affects about what the player has in his pocket. And then the hand, it doesn't make a difference because you could have a gazillion hands on there. It doesn't, because if everybody split and continued to split, you had infinity split, you would have multiple hands on there. So it kind of is related to the player, but the hand kind of, you can have, it's kind of like an open thing. Because you can have as many
Yeah.
hands on the
In
table
this
as you want.
version, we could still play the game as we intend because we can then we can then say that the table has a list of hands too, right? And that's how we can iterate through all the hands. We can iterate through all the hands, and then we can ask the hand, hey, who's in control of it? So we can ask them what they want to do with it.
Why not
So
just
we
have a list of hands in the player?
Could do that too. But now here's the next thing is though, again, that flow. And for this, it really allows that split to just be infinite in that case. Because then whenever we add another hand, we can just add it to the end here. And I wonder about where are the actions going to take place? We've already said that the player is just in charge, the actors are just in charge of telling us what we want to do. So the hit, stand, double, and split are not going to be under actor at all. They're going to be somewhere else. That action is going to be somewhere else. What are some of the locations that we can put those?
Table.
Yep, they could go into the table. They could also go under the hand. Now, if we have the players who have hands, in order to do a hit on a hand, we now have to do player.hand.hit, and we have to send it player.hand. So now we have to we have to make sure that the hand is now public inside the player. Whereas the hand has a player, we only have to go into the hand to get the player for one thing, to ask that actor what they want to do. After that, we never have to send the player. We can just send the hand directly. We definitely want to access the hand way more often than we want to actually access the player, do we?
And that's another thing you have to like think about too, right? Is that where most of the methods are going to be accessed, and so you don't have to go through like 3 classes to get to that one method if you want, if you're continuing to use it.
The coupling.
Exactly. And so in this case, the thing we're realizing something I realized long after I built this once is, yeah, by putting the hand in the player, I have to constantly do player.hand, 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 player.hand. Where in this case, if I build it with the hand has a player, they have an owner, I only have to access the player maybe twice or 2 or 3 times. Once to get the bet, and even then I can actually ask the player for that directly. I don't even have to go through the hand yet because the hand doesn't exist yet. I can ask each player directly, what do you want to bet? Create the hand, give the bet to that, and assign the player to them. That bet is removed from the player, and the player has no access to that bet now, because now the hand has the bet and the player belongs to the hand. And since the player can't access parent class or owner class items, we can't go up the chain. That makes sure that that bet attached to the hand is protected now from the player. The player can't access the bet once they put it on there. They can't reduce it, they can't increment it, except going through a method. So it isolates it and encapsulates the items a little better. And on top of that, I can then I can access the player one more time to ask for the action, and then a final time to either give them winnings or tell them they lost, and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to deduct it from the player or zero it out. I just delete the hand, and that bet is gone, right? I don't have to zero out the bet from the player or zero it out from the hand. I could just delete that hand, and now the bet's gone permanently. And so this is something I wanted to bring into play, is that it's not always so black and white of who owns what. Just because, yeah, we see that image of like a player holding the hand, and we just assume like, oh, the player has a hand. But again, the digital world, in this virtual world where the physical entities don't exist, ownership can be different. Who is made of what? Who is made up of what? Doesn't have to be so black and white. And with this system, we can also have a hand that doesn't necessarily have a player or an actor. It could just be an auto hand or a hand controlled by something else, where we can really kind of play with this concept. And we can also change the order of how the hands go. In certain casinos, you'll see that a player splits, they'll handle the first card first, that first hand first, and the second hand right after. Some of them, though, will give them the second hand, go through all the players once, and then go back and go through those who have extra hands. And so that player who split will actually handle their second hand after everyone else is gone, so that certain people aren't waiting forever. especially in those casinos where they allow for infinite splits. You don't want this person splitting once, handling the first hand, then going to the second hand, splitting again, handling that hand, splitting again, while you're just sitting there like, can I go yet? They want to make sure that they're constantly changing players to give everyone a chance to go, and giving people turns throughout the system. So this can help with that by going down the chain, then going back up, and going down the second splits, going back and going down third splits, going back and going down third splits. Because every time we bring a hand into play, we can add it to the end of our hands list. And so for me, this is what I wanted to really showcase, that for me, this is also part of the reason why I want to do this, is just to show that other mentality, that a inanimate object can own or have a human in a way. Because I don't know if it's so obvious that that's kind of what you did with a lot of you with the cars. The car has a driver, right? None of you said that the driver has a car, which is what we would normally say, right? You're like, oh no, Mike has a Tesla. We wouldn't say that the Tesla has Mike, right? So
To rent a car.
Rent a car, there you go. But that's kind of the way I look at it. This is really interesting way of looking at things and making sure that this concept is explicit, so you can start thinking in these other ways, thinking outside the concept of a human is the only thing that can own. That
Oh, I guess
things
I
can own each
cheated
other.
then.
Go for it, Ian.
I guess I cheated because my player had the engine, not the car.
What was that? Oh,
My
your player had the engine? Oh, geez. I'm just sitting in a picture now, a player sitting in the person sitting in the car with an engine on their lap. Or strapped to their back or something on it.
My player had the vehicle and the engine.
Because I got to think about that for a second already.
That's
If
the way
that
I
player
thought about
leaves
it.
the car, the engine goes with him now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like
cool,
it
but
has a vehicle and an engine, but it's different.
Yep. But yeah, but the funny thing is, again, that is something that in the digital world you can do and get away with. And if that fits the program that you're trying to build, or the application you're trying to build, you can do that. We use the real world to inspire us, but you have to remember we're not the real world, and we're not bound by the rule of the real world too. Like we said, the deck can be owned by the table, and it does not need the dealer to send out the cards. The dealer is just the term given by the casino, right? We could really just call it the banker. We could call it the opponent. We could give it whatever name we want. It doesn't have to be dealer. It's just the term we're familiar with, because in the casino, the dealer is the one who's allowed to touch and deal out the cards because they have to. There is no auto dealing system at a table. Yeah, no, there isn't. And even then, someone would have to press a button even if there was. That'd be interesting to see, some that auto deals cards to everyone at the table in the physical world. Anyway. So this is actually what we're going to go with this concept. The fact that the hand has a player. They own the bet. And that way we can then make sure that in our game, when we do certain behaviors, those behaviors a hand is passed to those behaviors. So we can then perform it on the hand. And those couple times we need feedback to the actor, we can then pass the actor through the hand. So the player has a name, and they have a wallet, and they have the action of get action. And that is probably our interface, right? The public name.
It's weird is you don't need a name
wallet.
to play. You don't need a name to play.
No, you can always just use the index in the list. So
It's for real. Like you don't go to a casino and go, "Hey, my name's Keith. May I join this table?"
Depends on the casino. Some casinos are really nice and they do want to know your name because they can talk to
No,
you by
they'll
name.
ask me and I'll be like,
Yeah.
I'm not telling you my name.
Yeah, they don't need it, but they
Yeah, you don't need to know my name.
they want to be
Just tell them
friendly
you're-
with you so that you're willing to stay longer.
So what now you gotta say? Keith?
Just tell them what
You get to the
What's
table.
that,
and
Travis?
say,
animal
index zero.
avatar you are.
What animal you are yet? Oh, I'm
Yeah,
Fox.
what animal?
I think Keith is going to go to the table now and say, "I'm at index 0."
Well, they do that in craps. Each person has a place where they stand is an index, because where you're putting the money on the table, you need to know where that person's money sits. If you ever looked at a craps table, it's very tight. You're looking at a number. Each position on that number has. You don't even know it. You're looking at the number, but when they're putting the money down, it's in an index.
Did not know that. I've never actually done craps because it
If
didn't make
we,
sense to me.
if the next class, if you want to deal at it during the class, I can get a deal at it during the class.
Cool.
I
I don't know.
Be
how
interesting
interesting. I
if
don't
you
know
have
how much,
questions.
what they would give us, but hey, I'm
Yeah.
not opposed to it. But yeah, this is kind of like, this is the thing I wanted to showcase, this concept of ownership that breaks our mentality of what we're used to seeing. And again, while it still uses the real world, it goes against what we're normally thinking of how ownership normally works. Ownership in the digital world is very different. Inanimate objects can own other inanimate objects, and inanimate objects can own animated objects or real living things. And this ownership is more of just like who has access to it. It's not really like I own you. It's more like I have access to you and things can access you through me, right? And that's that concept here, because the player, and that's something that I also, and the other main reason I bring this up is because we're going to bring the player in through reference. We're not going to actually create a new player in the hand. The player is going to still exist on the table. We're still going to keep this player list on the table. And then when we instantiate the hand, we're just going to pass it the reference memory, that memory address that you guys printed multiple times before. That's what we're actually giving to the hand, a reference to that player. And so that the hand can just say, oh, hey, since it's this hand's turn, this player is controlling me. So ask them for the information you need.
So is that just the comparing of objects?
What's that?
That's comparing objects, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, just
That
the
sounds right.
object. The object equals this object.
Right, yeah. When I create the hand instance, I'm not going to pass it a new player.
No.
I'm going to give it an already existing player. So that way it can reference, that way two hands can have the same player and they both reference that same player. So they would both have the same player in their system, and though the two fields would point to the same location, which is in the player list.
The location is, yeah.
Yep, same location in memory. So if I was to, let's reverse this a bit. So I made the split. So I made the split. I would then say, okay, so I'm going to make a split. I'm going to then, from the hand, ask the player for more funds. And so I'm going to pull from that player class that extra fund to the second hand. And so that player's wallet, which let's say originally had like 5 coins, is now down 2 coins. So when this one hits, you know, I'm going to take 2 coins away now that I think about it. So I want to do an example here. So for this one, let's say this hand now doubles. And so I take that last coin, and in my system, I'm not going to allow for I'm going to allow for loaning. There's no debt system. So in this hand, when I get to this one, they're not going to have any option. They're not going to be able to select an option that would require funds. So they're not going to have the option to double or split, even if they could, because they don't have enough funds in their player, because this one took that last coin they had. So because they're both pointing, this second hand, whenever it takes place, will know that the player has already used up these other 2 coins, even though they're not attached to this hand, because they're both pointing to the same object. So
yeah.
we'll know to not offer the double or split because they don't have the funds for it. Or at least if they try to do it, to tell them you don't have the funds. It'll be up to us whether or not we decide to let the interface show it or not. But that's where this benefit comes into play, by having that the hand is owned by a player.
Cool.
Really cool stuff. I think we're gonna have fun with this. Yeah, I think we're gonna have a lot of fun with this. So let's go ahead and build that spreadsheet out now, so we can see all those objects. And then again, what I'll say is, over the weekend, if you wanted to potentially build the hand class, I would say, I think that's gonna be the next item we would need, as a hand, because we can test that without a player. A player can't exist without a hand, really. So we could control a hand without a player in the beginning, just to make sure we can build it, we can attach stuff to it, we can do that. But let's build out our spreadsheet first. Make sure we have all our objects. So new share, desktop 1, share. Go ahead and bring up this. No, come on. Pull over, thank you. Sheets.google.com, new sheet. 12. Of attack. So we have the standard one. We have the card. We have the deck. And I'm just going to mark these as completed already, but I'm going to put the items in there so I know that they exist. So I can reference them in other methods if I need to, or other classes till they exist. So I have value, suit. And we don't have it yet, so we put the star in here as an optional, and we might need later. What we're going to call it. So we have is hidden. We're going to do a mini poll on this one, but we'll see if it's pretty easy to find out what people say. Is hidden is face up. We could do is down. Any of those. Is revealed. Do you have any sort of like preference, people?
I think face up is good, but that's me.
All right. Any other opinions?
Is face down. I mean, you pretty much have everything right there.
But it would come out face down, right? So, no, they come out face up to the player.
Well, in this case, we asked like for the display method, we could do if we were trying to do it, what's called an if return kind of system. So we would then want to say, in this case, we do if something and return that doesn't look very different. That's star star star. In this case, I'm just going to do return. In my case, which is great, but whatever.
Yeah.
So return the triple X as like a face down card. And otherwise, in this case, I'm going to do the return normal display. So what would be we really wanted this to be like an if true instead of having to do the not, right? So what would this be? If what, return this.
Or normal display. So if down, wait, return block, wait, otherwise.
We could also do is face down too. So we could do is face down or is down. If true, return this, else normal display. So yeah, it would probably be either, in this case, then we would do either is down or is face down, right? And so if that's true, we display nothing. And that can come out default true. What do we think? And again, if you like one of the other ones, we can still go for that one. Just let me know.
I like the face being in there if we know what we're talking about.
We like that? One good? I like it. No one else is opinion, so I'm not really getting many other opinions, so no matter what, Keith wins by default. And then, of course, we had our display method. So the deck, we had our suits. We had our values. We have the cards. Let's go like this, so we know it's a list. That's our common syntax for a list. And that was pretty much it for that. Then we just had our shuffle and draw methods. And again, yes, so what I would always like to do is then I would also mark it over here as saying, you know what? All right, this was actually the standard deck. I'm gonna update that. I'll call this I deck, so that way I know it's an interface. And that has shuffle, draw. I'm just gonna make parentheses there to mark these as methods. And then, of course, I had my rig deck, which just has suits, shuffle, draw. I'm going to do that. This is how I would usually do like interfacing stuff like that. I would do normally what I would probably do after is I would adjust these. So I would move this over here. I would put the interface at the top and put the implementations below it. So that way I know that those were implementations of the interface. That would be my layout for interface type systems. Again, that just makes sense to me. Again, for you, do what makes sense for you. If you like them all across the side, do that. For me, this would tell me that once I start building the interface, then I can build each of the implementations one after the other by just going down the line. That was kind of my way of kind of seeing that. So next up, we mentioned that we have the hand, which has cards. Again, we have a bet attached to it. We have a player attached to it. We could also call it an actor, technically, too. Let me see. We'll keep a player for the moment. Yeah, so the cards, the bet, and the player, again, attached to it. So that seems fine, right? Yeah. There might be other methods to this that we might know yet. We haven't decided yet. We might add like hit to it. And hold on. Double and split. So we might put them on the hand class. So that's something to consider. The next big thing that we know would be probably the table, right? Potentially table or player. There's two of them. So we'll start with the table first. We'll do the player, and then we'll also see which one we might move them around based on who needs what. We know that the hand needs a player though, so maybe we need the player already, right? So we should be able to build the player first, actually. So let's move this over. I can't build the hand without the player. So you know what? Player. And again, we want to think of this in the sense of any player, both normal player and a dealer. And so this is where we're and our card counter. So again, let's change this to I actor now. Right? I actor. And every single actor, the methods we're going to have is we need to be able to get their name, right? We probably need to get balance so we can display it. We might want to get their bet and then get an action. Those are all the methods we're probably going to need for these. And again, we might add more once we build out the implementations. We might change these. Right? So now think for a second, like some of you are probably looking like, well, balance and bet, the dealer doesn't do that, right? Most of you are probably thinking that, right?
No, the dealer does not bet, and the dealer's balance is the house. So no, you have no idea.
Right, yeah, those don't really make sense for the then. So it makes for a second we were like, well, doesn't that kind of damage the actor system? Well, remember again for a second here, our interface deck had both shuffle and draw, but what happens when we shuffled our rig deck?
It didn't really shuffle.
Yeah, just it did nothing, right? Return null.
No, it's a no.
Yeah, we returned. We didn't do anything in it. Same thing here. When we get the value, it's so there's another version of this. One, the get balance and get bet in the dealer will actually just return 0 here, return 0 here. The other thing is we can make sure that our system never runs these methods against the dealer because we have that instance of system. And we also know that depending on our flow, the logic, we may never ever hit the point where we're going to ask the dealer what their bet is or their balance if we keep them separate. If we had the player or the actor list, which is just the players and any AI actors like our card counter, and then our dealer is by itself. And so that way we make sure we never call these methods against the dealer, right?
Yep.
Where the dealer still technically has those options available to them, they just don't use them. So always
No, they'll be blank, right?
What's that? Yeah,
They'll be blank. Overrides. So it's blank.
Yep, the implementations will be blank, same as how we implemented the shuffle method on our rig deck. Yep. So just because an interface has a method doesn't mean that the other person has to actually do anything with it. And it also doesn't guarantee that that method will be called on that. There's a bunch of methods in the list interface that none of you use yet because you, one, just don't even know about them. And two, they're not useful for your use case. And so same thing here. While the dealer may have the get balance and get bet method, we'll never use them on them because it's not worth it for us. So don't be afraid to add methods to a implementation of a interface that doesn't really utilize it. It's perfectly fine. All again the interface does is say this method will exist. It doesn't mean you have to use it. always be aware of that.
You
That's one
have
of the
to
things I
put
do
it
want to
in, though.
clarify. Yeah, like the method you do guarantee that the class will have it. It doesn't mean it's going to do anything. We guaranteed our rig deck will have a shuffle method. We didn't guarantee it'll do anything. So be aware of that. And that's what's really cool about this concept and this system is that how these methods implement are different. Again, we have a shuffle and a draw method, but we have no cards at all in the rig deck. And we don't shuffle anything when we do it. So the implementation, the interface, we hold true to the interface. We held true to the guarantee on the rig deck to implement this interface. Yeah, we did it in a much different way than how standard deck guaranteed those methods. So, first off, we have our player. We have the name. They have a balance. We can start them. Yeah, we have a balance. And I did that with a capital N. Can we do that? Balance. Yeah, so we have those. And then we can do the, what is it? The get name method. That returns. We can even say it returns name. If you want to do things like this, because you know what it is already, you can do those. Or if you know the logic is like super simple, you can just outline it almost like a lambda function with the arrow, if you want to. Get balance. Thing. Our get action. Console. You can even say this is going to use the console for that. And our get bet. Same thing. We're going to use the console for that. So you have those. Our dealer will have neither a name or balance, but get name will return dealer, or whatever name you want to name your dealer. If you want to have fun
I was
with
gonna
it,
say, they have name
if you know any
tags
sort
now.
of famous dealer from like James Bond or something you want to add in, go for it. Hell, have James Bond be your dealer. I know he constantly at casinos, so. What's that? James.
Yeah, James. Yeah.
So get name or get balance. We'll just return 0. And our get bet will return 0 because it's going to require an int, but we're not, again, we're most likely never going to call those methods. And our get action.
So can you call these concrete? Because I've seen them
Static,
referred to as
yeah. Concrete. I can see that
they-
term. Yeah, concrete,
Yeah,
static.
I've seen it referred to as concrete
Yeah.
classes. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that. And so our get action is going to use the dealer's logic. We're not going to use the console. We're going to implement dealer's logic. And if you want to, you can add a note somewhere on here what the dealer's logic is. I can put over here if I really want to. Dealer's logic. 17 up. Stand. 16 go down. Right, that's our dealer logic. And just for the fun of it, when I add it, even though I don't know if we'll have the time to implement it, this might be a challenge for you guys to try to implement it. But we're also going to add in our card counter. Again, this is just one of the AIs you can implement. You can implement a randomizer, like someone who just randomly decides, or someone that has a certain, what was it? Keith, your little stat sheet.
Oh,
You can create
win.
the stat sheet, the stat follower.
Oh yeah.
So you can create that actor that just all their decisions are 100% based on that stat system, that stat sheet you have. And so you can do a whole bunch of ifs, conditionals, and checks to decide which one he's going to do. And so that's another actor. And that's what's really cool about this actor system is that you can create multiple different AI characters that can be brought into the game. And you can either have the player pick the AIs or have them randomly assigned. And so you can, and that during your, so you can say number of players, 3. Is player 1 a human or AI? Human, get their name, set them up as a player actor. Player 2, human or AI? AI, are they a card counter or a logic follower? They can pick it and then give them a name. Go through that whole process. So card counter, get name. So these guys, card counter, will have a name. And they're gonna have a balance. And then what could be good here is you could also give what's called like a bet ratio, right? Where they're going to bet a certain percentage of their balance or something like that. And you can also override it once they have once they're down to a certain lower level. You say once they're, normally they're going to bet 10% or 15% of their wallet. But once they're below $100, they're just going to bet 100 and go for the final shot, So those are things you can do there. Card counter, of course, I think they have a ratio where they actually increase their bet when a card count is high, but they'll do a low bet when the card count is low too. So that you could also play into role here too. So, well, I'm not going to put that in there, but just wanted to set that up in case anybody wanted to look into that stuff. So get name, return of course the name. But whatever. And please.
I'm confused by that. So you have name and then get name. Oh, okay. Got it.
Method, yep. Because we don't put remember the interface doesn't have the fields, and the field's going to be private. So get balance, get bet, counter, bet logic. Action. Again, I'd have to research that. Also, I forgot one thing. Right. And so we'll keep track of the card count as things happen. So when it's their turn to get action, the first thing they do will be update their card count based on the table. So look at the table, update their balance, update their system, and update the card count. So this would be interesting to see how you would make sure that the player does have access to the table. So make sure that they can see everything. That's one thing to be aware of. But I do believe that we're in the get action for the player, we're probably going to want to display the table too, right? So a good chance that for the get action, we'll probably include the table for the get action so that we can then display it. And that way, then they should be able to then view the table as well, or at least they'll have access to the table as a public item. So,
do you have a bet ratio in there and you got rid of it?
I did. The
Okay.
card counter, I don't think is going to use a ratio. I wasn't sure on that. Again, I don't even know if we're actually going to have the time to implement the card counter because I would have to look up the logic for how they bet and how they go. But my main goal here was just to showcase that, we have 3 different types of interfaces. And if we have the time, we're going to try to implement it. But again, I might also just make that a homework. Have you guys implement the card counter for us. So there's our actor system and our 3 actors. We're definitely going to implement these 2. But if we have the time, we might implement the card counter. But that's what I might also do as well. Like I might do the homework where you guys are going to implement a secondary actor. So you're going to create a 3rd actor for us. And it could be the logic one, the card counter. It can be a aggressive player who can we use the card counter for free code camp. Wait, what? There's one. Oh, cool. That was not there was not a card counter method when I did free code camp. So there's one now. Cool.
No, that was a project that we did, Cliff.
Oh, cool. Wait, what? Really?
Yeah, that was one of the projects for free code camp in
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that was not something I ended up doing. So cool. That's awesome. No, if there's a card counter logic, if you know it, you can definitely implement that. But yeah, that's what so my current thought process is that one of the homeworks for this thing will be over the weekend. One of the weekends will be to create a 3rd actor in your version. Then I'll be able to bring that way. And what's beneficial in the goal of it is that I should be able to import your actor into my system and let it work normally. And it should be able to work with our existing system. So that's going to be the challenge for that. And this is going to really touch base on that concept of working on an existing code base, that you should be able to add a new class to an already existing system. So that's one of the homeworks I'm looking to potentially do. Probably next weekend. So we have our actors. So now our hand should work. We have the cards, we have the player. So this is fully functional now. So now our table, we know that the table is going to have hands. We have player actors. We have a dealer. That way we can confirm that the dealer will always go last, period. because if we just put the dealer's hand in the hands method when someone splits, and if we just push that new hand onto the end, the dealer would go before that second split hand goes. So we want to be careful on that. So I feel like for me, it seems like the dealer should probably be separate to make sure that they go last. They go once all the hands in the hand system and the hand list are done. So the dealer. See anything else on the table? And
The,
the question is, go ahead.
Money?
It seems trivial, but the amount of bets, like I could actually see how many people
Probably get bets, like get total, get bets. You
I
can
can like
see
get
all
a
the
total
bets.
settings, like and like I could actually see like if I was at the table, I could actually physically count like everybody's bet. But I don't know if that's really needed, but that's just I would say minor. But
We want to display the table so you can see all the table, and that way we can also display the bets as well underneath each hand. So you can see that display table. So now the main question here is whether or not the table is going to be our game class. Is our table going to control the flow as well, or are we also going to create a game class? And so for me, I tend to make a separate game column, but during my code, I'll decide whether or not I want to combine the two. So the table might end up being my game class, could totally end up being it. But for my plan of attack, I tend to put the game mechanics, like the flow and stuff, in a different column to see if I want to put it separate, to see if I want to have a game class or not. I let the code tell me in the end, but I keep them separate just to kind of keep things organized. Because the game, the table doesn't control it technically, but in the end, I could end up doing it. What was that, Jim?
I was going to ask, like, could the table class just be a like minimal class where the game class is actually doing mostly all of the logic or mostly all the work, like a behind the scenes?
100%. And so yeah, and that's the thing. The game class in this case would have a table. So it controls the table, it manages it, and that way the game also doesn't need to manage everything else. The table has everything. The table has the player, the table has the hand, the table has everything else. So the game would have the table, and then it's going to have all the methods. And so it's going to go ahead and do initialize game. Which will of course ask for like player names and stuff like that. Initialize game, so most likely it'll have like the private get players, get player name. For example, yeah. Oh, not get bets. That sounds wrong. Let's just say display bets. Sorry. Player name. The game can then go through the process of running a turn. So let's see what we start round.
So a number of rounds, right?
And then turn, which is on each hand. So turn, and what I would do here is I'm going to actually put in here to clarify that a turn is a hand, not a player. And so I want to clarify that every turn is a hand, not an actor. The hand has the actor, so we're going to run a turn on each and every hand. So I want to clarify that for myself. And then round will have, and then if I really wanted to, I could even break this down a bit more, the round one, and actually do both start round, which has the deal and get bets. So the start round would say get all bets and then deal to those who bet. Now we can offer the option to not bet, and then end round will go through, it'll activate the dealer. So the end round might activate the dealer. Then again, the turn could be given the dealer hand. So that's possible too. But then the end round will take care of determining which hands actually won or lost their bet. And so it's going to then loop through each hand and say, did you win or lose? Here you go. All that fun stuff. That again, this could be where we then take this and just put these all in table. If we notice we're doing table.x a bunch of times. If we're accessing a bunch of stuff through the table, we could then always just merge the two together. So that's one of those things. That's why I do this, so that I can say, okay, in the beginning, my goal in the beginning is always keep these things as small as possible. But if I notice I'm doing a lot of accessing of things, then I might want to change it. There's a lot of object accessing. Maybe I can consider restructuring it. So anything I'm missing? I don't feel like they want to see. I have my little notes here. Round. Start round.
The only thing I would add in that you don't have, it'd just be the like end game, but
End game. Yep, I do need that. You're right.
yeah, but I mean, you can almost
You
do
could have a
end
winner
round
out of so many rounds. Yeah, you could have a winner.
like the end of round if no one can, if the round is complete, meaning that no one has no money left in, and so that would, the end round would be end game. But
yeah, I probably would need to remove player method though. You're right on that. I probably need to be able to remove a player. And again, I could put that here, or that's honestly a method that could go in the table, honestly.
You're drunk, you gotta go.
So yep, you're drunk or you're out of money. Either way, you're out of here. So for hand in hands, hand, and that's I'm just gonna do that, and then end. That's my round, and then for each turn, what I'm going to do display the table. What else do I want to do next? So I display the table, then what? Or just display the actual hand of the player too, so that I know that which hand is mine. So display hand, which means we might need to make sure our hand has that, which it does not. So then do the hand. See, and this is where it helps to kind of, for some of these items where I know the method is a little more complex, it can help to kind of identify, kind of write out little like a very minimalistic version of it. So I can see if there's any methods I didn't think of. Display hand. After I display the hand, what do I want to do next? If you had to take a guess. Again, just high level, don't get into the nitty gritty. So I displayed the table for the player, for the actor. I displayed the hand. What else?
So you turn the bet?
Yeah, get the action, right? Yeah, we
Yeah.
already betted because we wouldn't have a turn without it. Yeah, get action. Then I can do perform action. And this is where I can figure out, does the action belong in the table, does it belong in the game, or does it belong in the hand? Based on how I want to run this. Do I perform action and send the hand with the action I'm doing? Do I just run the action here based on that? Where do I put that? So this method right here is going to help me decide where these go. And at some point, I might want to define these as well. Copy and paste here. And I might want to define these here, define at some point. Whether or not I do that in the point of attack or define them in the while I code actively, that's something I can decide later. But I know I need to understand how these are going to work, what the logic behind them is at some point. But I don't have to do it now. Perform action. Did turn. And so then I can ask myself, did the action I do end the turn? So we do know that these two here are the ones that end turns, right? So hit does not end turn. Split doesn't end the turn. Stand and double end turns.
Yeah.
Normally. It doesn't end turn?
What does?
It doesn't end turn?
What doesn't?
Well, it does if you go over.
That's what I'm saying. It would end turn if I busted.
Yes, but that's a not that is true. It can end the turn, but it doesn't end the turn itself. A certain scenario does. So hit doesn't necessarily end the turn. It's what happens on the hit that ends the turn. True.
Yeah.
So a stand definitely ends the turn, and a double always ends the turn. Even though in the game we played yesterday, it didn't. In a normal casino situation, a double, you get one card and you're done. You can't double and stand. You can, in most casinos that I know of, you double, you get one card and you stand. So I was definitely interested to find that one that does the double and then you can either hit or stand. It's your call, so you can double and stand, which is a fascinating thing to be able to double on a 21. But That's why I don't think the casinos would let you, because yeah, then any person who got a double, anybody who got a 21 is gonna instantly double. Because it's like the worst case scenario is you push. So I can see why casinos don't tend to do that. The fact that a lot of you would get 21s in yesterday's game and didn't hit double would always aggravate me. Then again, I think no, I think yesterday's game still implemented the fact that you can only double before you do any action. That had to be your first action. You had to double right away. You can only double on the pocket, which is one of the things I do want to make sure is also clear again. That is another rule behind doubling, by the way. You can only double as your first action. You cannot double on your after you hit. So do be aware of that. To turn in, did not repeat, otherwise that. So I think that's a good plan of attack. What do you guys think? That look pretty straightforward?
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. My challenge for you guys for the weekend. Ready? It's gonna be a fun one. Attempt to build the actor player system. I'm not caring for dealer. Well, hold on, actually, you know what? No. Actor and dealer. Let's do that one. I don't want to deal with the console the weekend right now. So your challenge is to make an actor interface and come up with the dealer. So we all know the dealer's logic. Try that over the weekend. I think you do that. And for anyone who wants the additional challenge, go ahead and attempt the player if you want. You'll see what we end up building on Monday. We are going to build that. We will not review. You don't have the time on Monday to review them because we have a lot of code to write on Monday then. So we won't review them. Your goal will be able to compare against it. I will have an assignment in Classroom though for you to submit, so I know that you did attempt it. And again, you should have 2 versions of this project. The one you're building before we build it together, and then the version we build together. So your goal is to try to build as much of this system as you want. These are the 3 we're going to build. So you definitely have to build the actor and the dealer and attempt those. For those who have the time and want the challenge, attempt the player. All right. And that way you can compare what you built over the weekend with what we build on Monday, because that's our goal for Monday, is to try to build these 3 on Monday. Whether or not we'll include the hand on Monday, I don't know. We'll see, because there's a good amount of code there, especially in these items here, which, by the way, again, I will say, we might hold off on the action until we implement the hand, because the action is might require the hand, especially with the dealer. The dealer will probably need the hand in order to work. So you might not need to build the get action method, but just have it ready, right? Make sure that we have something ready for that, because the action for the dealer is based on the hand's current score, which I forgot that method. Get score or get value? What do we think? Score or value?
Value.
Get value. Get value. Okay. So you can see the value of the hand. So the dealer definitely relies on the hand here to know that. So the get action might just be a commented out method for the moment because we don't have a hand yet. So make sense? Kind of.
Yeah.
Just build as much as you can with this without needing to build a hand. So try to do as much of the actor, dealer, and then player as you can. And for the moment, for the get action, if you wanted to, you could just, for the meantime, do, oh yeah, no, we don't actually need the whole hand. We just need the value. So yeah, we could just do get action and we'll send it the value technically. We could do that for the meantime. We might change that and refactor it. For the moment, we can take it int value, which would be the get value from the hand class. And again, for the player, while we get the value, we may not display that for them. Who knows? Something we might not do. But yeah, bunch of things
You can
we
always,
do that.
in the get action, you can always just return a print statement saying print like action was made or something
Yeah.
too.
Yep. Now, again, I'm curious to see what you guys come up with at this moment. But that's the challenge for the weekend, and that's why I'm doing this one, because we do have the 3 days: Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I think you all have more than enough capability to be able to do the actor and the dealer, definitely, and you definitely have the potential to do the player. At least create the skeleton framework for it, because again, some of this will be adjusted after we make the hand. So some of this will change a bit. All right. Any questions? So I will be posting this in the classroom. So this document will be available in the classroom as a classroom material and as a link on the assignment as well. So you'll have access to it through the assignment, but also as a material in classroom. All right. I'll try to get this video up tonight. If nobody sees it by tomorrow, ping me. Make sure that I remember to upload the video. Don't let me forget for the weekend. So don't be afraid to yell at me to put the video up. All right.
Will do.
Cool. All right. Everybody feel interested in this one? This seem fascinating, interesting? Are we curious to see how this gets put together?
Definitely, like I want to see how this gets built. So, because it feels like it's gonna help with other card games. Like if you be much more prepared for developing.
The goal of
another,
this is not just to prepare you guys for card games, but for other types of these more complex items that have these multiple methods. I'm sorry, classes, and especially those that now have interface classes. And again, the card class, which again, we'll do that on Monday. I'll make the abstract card class on Monday, so you can see that. It shouldn't affect any of your code. Yeah, we'll do that on Monday, starting 9:15. So, all right, you guys all have what you need. Go to the casino and play blackjack. Go for it, Manny. Just don't card count. You'll get in trouble.
Now we'll all be addicted to gambling.
If you win though, you owe me like 15% as incentive.
I think that's fair.
I'll take a commission. Only if you win big though. Sounds good. Thank you. Everybody have a good weekend. Manny, hope you feel better. I'll see you all on Monday. Have a good weekend.
All right.
Well, no, I'll see some of you on
Thanks,
Sunday for
bud.
office
Weekend.
hours. Right.
Oh,
Office
yeah,
hours on
office
Sunday.
hours. Yep.
So see some of you there. So if you get stuck, reach out.
Night, everyone.
Yeah, everybody.
Awesome.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.
Bye. Take care. Says the guy who's been marked as I'm away for the last fake hour that he's been available. You forget to take away the I'm away system.
Oh, I thought I did. I remember coming back and I thought I took that away.
That's fine. I can see you. I'm not so worried about the I'm away if I can see you. Yeah.
Because you
More-
know I'm
I
here.
care more about that for those who who can't use their cameras. So that helps me more with them.
Am I the only one left?
No, Freddie's here, and Richard tends to never leave. I always have
I,
to kick him to the waiting room.
Have you ever heard of RSPC3? It's
No.
the PS3 emulator.
RSPC3 or PS3?
RPCS3.
Yeah.
It should be a PS3
I
emulator.
can only imagine what the requirements for that is though, because the like hardware requirements to do that, because if you're trying to emulate another machine,
Yeah, I
those
know.
things usually like the emulation requirements for the PS2 was already crazy enough as it was. Trying to
But-
emulate the PS2 was a nightmare.
Yeah,
Never mind trying
I-
to emulate the PS3.
My laptop can do PS2 pretty well, but my desktop does a little bit better. I have an i5
Yeah.
with a 970 on it. And well, two things. All the PS3 games are all Blu-ray, so they're like 25 gig or so.
Yep.
So I downloaded Nier 3 and in Persona 5. Nier works fine, but Persona was stuttering audio.
Nair 3. Wait, what? Nair?
It's called Nier, Mier,
Nair.
Nier.
Oh, sorry.
Nair.
I know this. Like I know Nair. Nair is a good game, and they just released the re-release of it. Nair Automata.
Yeah, I have
The only reason I
Automata.
would get like one of those emulators was to be able to play Drakengard again, because the Nair trilogy, the Nair system is based on that world,
Oh,
and
okay.
apparently leads to it. And I played Drakengard 1 and I partially played Drakengard 2. Love
Oh,
that
cool.
game. Really cool story. But I
But-
I found out there's actually a Drakengard 3 that I don't think got released to America, but it has the English version, I think. So
Well,
I,
that's-
I want to play those because that would be just cool to know the other, like what led up to Nair.
Yeah.
It's a good
I have
game.
Automata, which I played and I beat.
Automata.
Yeah. Have you played that one?
No, because I wanted to play the original first, Nair again. And I
Yeah.
actually have the Nair whatever one with all the numbers and stuff. The one they just released about it. I actually have that
Okay.
already.
Yeah, I played the other one. That one
I
has
haven't had time to
26
play it.
different endings.
I don't have time to play anything. I have so many games I just don't play.
Yeah. Well, the thing I wanted to mention though was that, like I said, that one works perfectly fine, but Persona 5 doesn't. I get stuttering audio.
Fun.
If I got a better CPU or a better card, it can probably work a little bit better. So I've been researching online on how to get it to work because most of the other games all work. It's this one doesn't. I can get it to work. So they have a debug mode in this in the emulator. And when you run the game, I have to shut off a few kernels. I have to shut off like 3 kernels and the game runs perfectly fine. But when you go into the debugger, you can see the machine language coding being run in real time. You can see all the registers. You can actually see where, the typical semi language like code.
All right. I was gonna say, I'm not liking the fact that you're spending all this time playing and trying to play a game versus writing code, but looking at code registry is interesting.
It's like, wow, this is really cool.
Just make sure you're putting in the time for the code because I want to get you a job already. I need to get you out of here.
Yeah, I know. I want to get the done too. Actually, it's just getting the algorithms done more than the coding. I mean, just algorithms, just coming up with the code.
For me, it's also speed too.
Trying to get the algorithm it's more trying to find the correct path and trying to figure out what ones I need to implement to get the thing done correctly initially.
In the time allotted. Getting it done, getting it to pass the test in the time allotted.
Yeah,
That's
but
your
I don't
biggest
know
issue.
I'm having a problem trying to figure out how do I do that?
Right. And that's why I have you doing some of these projects again, because I want you to stick to the time frame of the projects. So these time frames of these projects. So this assignment this weekend, your goal is to finish the requirements before Monday and try to get as much done as you can by Monday. Well, your first goal being to finish the requirements, getting the interface actor and the dealer done before Monday. You definitely are capable of doing that. And if you don't, then that's a problem. I mean, you got sidetracked or distracted, or you got pulled away from the focus. And so your biggest thing is staying focused and making sure that you do the minimums first and then add on. And so once you have the minimums, you're good. And then of course with that, then you can try to challenge yourself. Can I get if your goal would try to be to get all 3 done before the Monday, but you can't be working on player, you shouldn't even touch player until the requirements of actor and dealer are done.
Yeah.
Once those are done, then you're like, okay, cool, I have time. Now I can work on actor. Because one thing I worry about you is that sometimes you try to do all 3 in tandem. And so then by the timeline is up, you technically don't have anything done because nothing works yet. While you have a budget code written, nothing is technically runnable. So as far as the company would be concerned, that's not done. So that's kind of the thing to keep in mind. That's what we need when we want to get focusing with you, is making sure you see what that minimum requirement is, see what is that MVP, what is that wooden plane, and you hit that first, you target that down, you tackle that first before you build anything else. Once you have that, I think I can get you a job. Once we can get that skill down, I'm confident that you'll be able to get a job in no time.
Okay.
All right.
Just another question while I'm here though. If I am, if I'm thinking about looking for another job like outside career devs, trying to get maybe a development job, how do I market myself for it? Because I don't want to say I'm from career dev. I should probably market myself away from that, right?
You could say that you're in career devs. You haven't graduated yet. As long as you don't list that you graduated, you can say you're in career devs, but it has to be very clear that you're an existing student. So that you don't set that expectation of this is what a finished student is. All right. We set that expectation that you are a still learning student, that you are not that way it's clear you don't have a blessing yet, you're not finished, and what you do does not represent a graduate. That's that key thing. So that's the key thing we would have to make sure it's clear on that. It's fine to have on LinkedIn that you're in it. And for me, I'm the type of person that wouldn't put an unfinished education thing on my resume. Because technically, if you're not finished, it doesn't mean anything. As far as for me, as far as I'm concerned, and if I was hiring someone, if they come in and say, "Oh yeah, I'm 2 years into my degree," it's do you have a degree yet? No, I don't really care yet. You have it, you don't have it, and I have no guarantees you're going to get it. So does it really benefit me? Great, you're in school. So that's me. That would be my recommendation. So it's up to you whether or not you put it, but just make sure it's very clear that if you put it, it's because you are an active student, not a graduate student.
Okay, good. All right, that's a good thing. And I guess it's a boom.
If you don't clarify that and people think you're a graduate of it, and you could set a bad, then you set the bad reputation.
I don't want
that
that.
can hurt. Right, exactly. That's why you need to make sure that expectation is set and that it's clear what you're putting. So
I guess it's a boon that if they hire me, knowing that I'm a student, they like my code and everything was working well, then they might come after to you guys to say, "Hey, we would like to have more people from you." So they don't have to graduate yet.
The main thing is we've had students that didn't clarify that they were an active student and not a graduate student. So we got some initially bad, like you get some companies that were like, this is so you're an instructor and we just interviewed this person. This is what you're outputting. Like, who did you interview? And like this one, like they're not done. They're like halfway through the program. Like,
Oh,
"Hey,
geez.
really? Like, yeah, they're like halfway through the program. Like, that wasn't clear on the resume, man. He's like, oh, like luckily they knew who Arnell was when they researched career devs. They found Arnell. They're like, I know this guy, and so they were able to, they reach out to him because they wanted to tell us like the student to make you look good. So we were lucky in that case, and so that's why we make sure it's very clear. If you're going to apply without our blessing, you need to mark that you're an active student, not a
Okay.
graduate.
No, that's
That
good
it
to
sets that expectation.
clarify, because I didn't know how to do it. I didn't want to say, I didn't want to make any insinuations on make any bad marks on
Yeah.
career devs.
Which I appreciate. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
again, the main goal for you would be, for you, your biggest focus would be on your projects and what you've completed, not with your curriculum, because you're not done yet.
Yeah.
So you haven't graduated yet. So for you, your biggest focus on your resume, if you want to try to look for something in the middle of career devs, I would put the heavy focus on your projects and your things you completed versus your education or work history. Your
Right,
biggest
okay.
focus should be on your skills and your projects that showcase that those skills are
Yeah.
doable. All right.
I'm just kind of poking at it because I don't know. I still want to go through and finish with you guys. So, but
No,
I don't
please.
know. I'm just kind of poking.
Again,
on
the goal for you is just to get your job. If you get a job without our blessing, we don't care. That's a job. We
Yeah,
just
I
need to be
know.
very careful with who you put in. If we send you there, that puts our reputation on the line. I have to make sure I don't
Yeah.
ruin that.
No, I want to be. But if you guys sending me somewhere, I want to make sure I'm 100% like proper and ready to go,
Appreciate
and not fumble. I don't want to. I don't
For
want to
me,
mess up. That's
if
most
you
my
don't get-
more fear
yeah.
that I'm gonna mess up, and I just don't want to mess up.
If I knew that the company wasn't going to do a hacker rank test, I could probably feel comfortable sending you there.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. Right now, my biggest concern is that you will fail the hacker rank test.
Oh,
That's
I
my
know I
biggest
will.
concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if like an in-person, like the actual interview, I think you could do fine with that. I don't think
Yeah.
you'd be half bad with that. I would want to put you through if you did end up getting an interview, I would put you through a couple interview questions and make sure you're ready for the interview questions.
Mm.
But the hacker rank test is my biggest concern for you.
Yeah, I know it is. It's
So
my concern.
that's why I haven't put you out yet, because I don't think you passed that, and
No,
you need to pass it.
No, I know. And that's the thing that scares me the most. It's like trying to get that that done quick enough. But-
Which I can let you know, take it from me, Evan has made a huge improvement recently. So
Oh,
you just got to stick with it and listen to the things that we tell you are wrong. Evan's biggest thing was his anxiety. So I had him doing the tests in front of Alita and Christian, so that he had that sense of anxiety from people. And then what they did is they helped him when they noticed he started feeling it, they would give him encouragement. And so he could figure out how to get around that anxiety. So for him, I knew he could solve things in time. His biggest thing was he'd have the anxiety hit and he would blink. So I didn't need him doing any more, because I saw what he was doing with the lessons. He was half the time in class solving things. So I knew he could solve them. His biggest thing was just anxiety freezing. So that's why for you, I had you sit with this group. For him, I actually put him in with the group, because I knew that him doing the test with others watching him would force the anxiety to the surface. But because of who was watching him, they could then give him encouragements that could counter the anxiety. And so now he has that ability, that concept in the back of his mind, that he can reach into that encouragement from when he was doing the test with himself before, that he can reach into that, try to use that to get him out of the anxiety. I'm very careful with what I do with every person, because you and him were very close in score. I think he had like a 5 or 10 and you had a 0.
Oh,
So yeah, like you two were not very different. So I was struggling with the two of you. Like, I know what you two can do.
Yeah.
But I knew that your thing was just, I need to get you faster. So I knew that this was the best route for you.
Yeah.
For Evan, I knew I just had to give him more exposure and some tools to get around the anxiety.
Yeah.
This wasn't going to help him.
Yeah, I just didn't skip through the questions. I kind of just was going through through it.
Well, no, your thing is you want to get, you try to do, like, you love to get deep in the weeds of stuff. It's fascinating to you. And that's it's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
As a developer, it's bad during tests.
Well, the other problem too was when I was at the first test, I read it. I'm like, oh, I got this. This should be done like in 5 minutes, because I've already pseudocoded it out and I had everything. I'm like, this should work. And then I got to the end and was like, it's not working. It's like my last piece is not working right. I would have had that done like a lot quicker, but I don't know.
All good, man.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm loving this group. You guys are doing great. You got some great TAs. Like you guys are doing great. I'm ecstatic for what's going to happen. I feel like a lot of you guys are going to be going to graduating at the same
Yeah.
time. So
I thought
this
about
group
doing
is
a TA
strong.
because it's like I could do this too, but I don't know. I'm not like I can help people out. That's about it. But I'm not really a teacher per se, like you can.
And my thing for you guys, the reason why none of the, even when like other TAs have left, I focused on having the cohort 12 complete TAs, that cohort 11, your focus should be 100% getting out of here early. I don't want, you guys should not be trying to get hired at the same time as 12. If
Yeah.
you do, fine. But I wanted you guys focusing more on trying to get ahead of the group and getting back to the interview process earlier. But if it doesn't happen, it's fine. If you guys get hired at the same time, I'm okay with that.
I probably should work on some algorithms like in between.
Again, I will never stop any of you guys from coding. So
yeah.
But I'm gonna get some food because I have dinner waiting for me.
I had a quick question.
Go for it, Freddie.
I can finish the dealer by Monday, but I was wondering, like, for the assignment that you gave, can I do solitaire instead?
Sure.
All right.
I like it. Yeah. And food, by all means, I think if I remember correctly, I think you might have already built any of those. But honestly, if you want to do even one of the other games, you're more than welcome to. So.
All right.
Yep. I'm
So
not
yeah.
opposed to that.
Yeah, I'm close to finishing Blackjack. I just need to get the
high-low
dealer
jack.
working.
High-low jack, Jesus.
Oh.
I wanted to try to do high-low jack, but I don't know.
Oh, good, man. Yeah, I'll see
Alrighty.
you guys on Monday. Maybe some of you on Sundays, but I'll see you guys later. We'll go eat some
Okay.
food.
Bye.
That's it.